Well, hello there. Tonight is another night where we bring it all back for the Art of Warcry with little Three Heroes One Chef, and we have a very big discussion that I think we're gonna have to deal with. It's gonna be all the meta droppings of everything coming out from the Metawatch, and we're gonna really deal with it right now. We're gonna go through it with a fine tooth comb. No, we're not, and it's gonna be great. So we have a really good night for everybody. But before anything, please be a hero, not a chaff. Subscribe, hit the like button, put the bell on, tell your mom, your grandma, your friends, your aunt, the crazy old homeless guy next to the Kmart next to wherever you're at. Just do it. Tell them, let them know because this is important. We have things to say. But first, before we get into all the fun shenanigans, we need to hear from the boys. A little hobby time. It's been a lot of downtime, a lot of new
It's
things
us.
coming out.
We're
Yeah,
the boys.
That's right.
Peter.
Oh, me first. Right. So
You figured out the cameras. We're upgraded.
look right here. Right here.
It's opposite.
So yeah, finally after what, like 3 months, I finally finished my Night Haunt Warband. Just in time for points adjustments.
Hell yeah.
But it's for casual play anyhow, so I'm not too worried about the changes. But yeah,
It's
got
not
that.
allowed in a competitive tournament ever. It has to say
No.
casual.
Yeah,
Taxes
yeah.
it. Not here.
Not here. But yeah, got that done, so I'm excited to mess around with that finally. And now it's just getting my Sybarites ready for June. So that's exciting. I got my Lord of Hubris in the mail about a week and a half ago, and Vexmore should be completed this week. So it's all coming along, and now it's also just my brain's about to explode because obviously, like the rest of us here, when all the points adjustments and everything dropped, I can't turn my brain off. So there's a lot of projects going on right now.
Hell
So
yeah.
that's about me. How about you, Mike?
Well, I did not break the internet somehow, despite the fact that if you're on big Warcry Discord, I finally decreased my golf score on there instead of just consistently adding numbers and buying things and going up and up and up. I painted something. I did an entire warband, finished up my Fue Ghosts, the Pyre Geists. So finished that war. We'll finish like all of the models from the kit, but got a couple of allies that I'm putting in there. So working on those ones. It's fun. Lots of fire. Not like real fire, like glowy fire. But yeah, got a couple of fun little conversions that I did for a couple of the Crimson Court guys, and then also a dire wolf. So making them all flamed out so that they match. They all look good together when they go to the dance and get beat down because they're garbage. But also been with all like the new rules and stuff like that. I've always liked Seraphon, and then they didn't have enough rules for the new stuff, so I was like, all right, I don't need that. And then they have rules now, so I bought a bunch of those ones. Building those ones up, those are super fun to put together. And then I think the next thing I'm going to do is Wildercore. I got a few extra little crossbow bits, so I've been thinking of doing some conversions for all the bodies in there, maybe doing some camo painting and stuff. I'm not excited to play them. Looked at the rules, I was like, I know they're good, but I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it. Just shoot. But rolling dice is fun. So and it's a neat warband. So looking forward to putting those ones together. How about you, Kyle?
Oh,
Ooh,
geez.
nailed it
We're
first
getting
time.
there. We're getting there. Oh, yeah, my hobby time. I did a small commission for Slay the Spire. Got me enough money to work on my own version of Pyre Geists. Got 2 boxes of those bad boys, and I decided this was a good time to start playing with electronics. And my desk looked very sketchy with solder equipment and a wire and all sorts of other things. But putting
There was a vest too, right? There was
Yeah.
It was really concerning.
There was a
No house
shoebox
fire
I
yet,
heard
though,
at
so we're
one
okay.
point.
but essentially putting LEDs inside of the ghosts, kind of like those flickering candle lights. So kind of looks like they're actually glowing with fire from the inside. So just finished getting those lights in there, about ready to start priming. So it's going to get real nice from there. So that's hobby time, really, more than anything else, trying something new. Things I'm excited about, I'd have to say like 3. I won't go too long in them, but 1 from Order. It's the Code Right. I really like his ability. I think it's very unique for what he brings. 2, K-Knight Shadow Stalkers. Come on, I've got 3 boxes of those bad boys. I'm gonna be shooting crossbows left and right. Apparently, they felt the sling ring was overpowered with 2 shots because they didn't give that a 5-point discount. But I'm not going to go there. And yeah, even though they had to scale down death, I assume they just heard my hour-long rant, and they were like, "This kid is too much to talk about, so just get rid of half of his options." I'm so excited for like the Oss Effector and like what that could bring to the table and the Nighthawk changes. So a lot to think about. What about you, Rob?
I think we completed the. There it is. Mike's just staring behind him like there's a ghost. I'm currently just jamming out and painting some of the new Ard boys, the Iron Jaw Ard boys. I had like half a box left over, and I just really got into painting them. They didn't even receive a points buff or anything. I just thought 80 points.
They got nerfed.
The one profile did, which nobody played anyway. So yeah. I mean, I'm like, okay, the T5 shield is still good. We're jamming that. So like, it's been good, dude. I've been having a fun time, like just not painting cities of Sigmar. So,
you've been doing a fun paint job on them too. It's not just your usual really good grimdark stuff. You got creative.
Oh yeah, so I totally stripped all that because I panicked when I saw it.
Oh
no. I totally stripped, except for the red. I kept the red. I was gonna do mighty Morkin Powwog Rangers, and it was gonna be like the 5, and like even my wife's like, that's so cool. And then I was like staring at them, and like we have like a big garden window. It's really pretty, and like they're in there like just to get queued up to paint next to the 10 plants that are dying. And I saw them and I was like, I just dumped a whole bottle of isopropyl alcohol, and then I just scrubbed them clean like they did something wrong to me. I was like, no more. And then like I just removed
You will be pure.
I was like, I
now
can't
gonna
have fun.
allow himself to use the garbage paintbrushes on him. He's like, no, you don't deserve this. I'll give you a good paint job
I
one
have
day.
all new paintbrushes, mister, and they've been very
Up to 7 bristles now.
There is I have a stippling brush. It's separate. There are no paint in the ferrule.
The shoelace. It's folded over.
It's just spaghetti that I just dragged.
Daughter's Barbie hair just like dunked into paint.
I just kind of take a toothbrush and spray it on.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's good though. I'm having a good time painting stuff that I'm like into and want to. And I mean, other than what Kyle was talking about, all the exciting stuff, there's tons of new exciting stuff we're about to get to very shortly. But just kind of waiting and wishing, kind of like the Pablo Escobar meme of me just waiting for the Iron Jaws like extra models to be added in.
I thought you were gonna Jack Johnson it, sitting, waiting, wishing.
Oh, dude, I love Banana Pancakes. It was a great album.
He's like him and Pablo Escobar, basically the same.
They're basically the same. They're best friends. They grew up in the same area. They both jammed the same music. They just had a very wild divergence at one point in their life. But this is not the place to talk about their ideology and different music. So, you know, we're done with that. We can gracefully move on out of this conversation.
So this is the art of Warcry. This is the art of music.
Yeah, this is the art of Jack Johnsoning how to get the best caramel latte at your local Cool Beans and try to pretend like you're awesome in 8th grade. Listen, we're gonna move on to these to what we're talking about. That got excited because Kyle had a really good mention for that. If Mike, if you want to pull up, or whoever's doing this, pull up the Warcry for that, everything, or whatever the FAQ was, right? That's the one.
Yeah, the FAQ.
It's gonna be the only compliment I get from Rob tonight. That one comment I had at the beginning. So
which one? I forgot.
I don't know.
Well, if it was in this, I'll edit something one time and get rid of it. Don't worry.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I can't have that one. Might go to my head again.
Yeah. You might talk for 40 more minutes again. You can't allow that to happen. Peter, pipe down. All right. So most importantly,
there we go.
There's a lot of other people that already covered it. Check out Salty C off Meta Musings. People, War Games on Toast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, War Games on Toast. Definitely Dame Warcry. Yeah, a lot of people go through the profiles and plan stuff, and although that like we could sit here and go through the granularity of it, which like I could sit there and geek about it every night and day. I think it's more
We do
we
it on the
we
side.
do it on the
We
side.
do.
You don't have to hear our 7 lists with 1 different model differences from Kyle and myself. Like, is this it? Is this it? Are you ready to
Is
love
this
me? Like, almost.
I mean, the
And
best part about these updates, right, is they clearly stated that it's magenta text and not like pink text.
Ooh,
Like they
ooh.
clarified that. That was important to me. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if everyone else here wanted to know.
I think it was
When I
a. It
pay
was
my
a
models now, I'm going to say this is actually Warcry FAQ pink.
this is
So
it's a big miss for them not to say this is Sigvold Burgundy, like just to give them like their own like Citadel color,
Ooh.
like which is a
And
beautiful
we'll
color.
give the options like in the painting app too. Like if you wanted to use a base color, this is what it would be. It's also a contrast at the same time if you want to achieve the same effects.
If you want to do it with 1 step faster, it's this one,
Mhm.
right? So there's some cool stuff, and like I think there's some really impactful things, and going through it, and like one of the big impactful things was like the nerf to fight for profit, right? Everybody's talking about the big KO nerfs, and
Where's
just
it
to
at?
kind of
I just want to look at it. I want to soak it in. I want to enjoy it. I want to just ruminate in it because it is overdue and it feels so good. Scumbags playing KO. Your time's up. Get out of here. We don't like you.
listen.
We like you now. You can come back. We can be friends
You
again.
could come back and play. Like there's now, so there's a lot of cool things. Like one, they nerfed the chaff. Their pistol chaff was 50. They put it to 55. Cannons were 110. Up to
Yeah, man.
up to 130, 135, I think, or 130, and then the
130.
mortars are 145, right? So they gave them
Mhm.
sizable points increases, and then they gave them, except for the pistols, not you, and then they gave a fight for profit was functionally changed, and I think that's like the biggest, most exciting thing because this was something that was whenever we're preparing for tournaments, like everybody's like, so what do you do if you face KO? Like, what's the plan to face KO?
Yeah.
And even if you have a good plan to face KO, they could just still get lucky and shoot stuff off the board and like not really care what you're doing. So now just changing it to the same thing as like a lot of other leaders have, 3-inch AoE plus 1 attack for melee. If they're on a objective or holding a treasure, that's when they get the +1 ranged attack. So it's a little bit more of a setup. And there's a little bit more, I guess, care that goes into it, and you're not just getting 3 dice Aether Cannon. You're not getting 8 dice Aether Chemist. You're not getting a lot of crazy. It's still
I mean,
really,
the Aether
it's still
cannons
really
are the biggest, one
right.
that took this hit, right? Like going
2 dice
from
feels
being
way
able to
less
consistently
oppressive than the
steal.
3 dice on it. Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to.
No. But even still, like you're not getting 2 dice consistently. You have to set it up so much.
You have to set it up right.
So I
Well,
think
I
that's
mean,
really
I
the
think it's
biggest
just gonna
change to them.
I think it's just going to change, right? So,
Yeah.
like KO was like the de facto ranged faction. I think people are still going to experiment with them, right? I still think their guns still aren't bad if they're built around the right way, but I think you'll see a lot of people pivoting over to Hunter's
Spears.
Huanchi. We've seen that done before. I know they made a change to the reaction, but honestly, it doesn't really affect the team.
No.
And Hunter's actually got a points buff in terms of their other chaff, so you can fit some more stuff in there. You're going to see a pivot over to Wildercore because the Arbalest is still incredibly strong, 20-inch range
Who's doing
for a
that?
profile.
Who's doing Wildercore?
So there's that. Like as much as I joke about K Knights, I don't think you're going to see them as much as I want them to be out there. But you're also going to see Slan too, right? The Slan Star Master with increased strength, just shooting people down. So range isn't gone; it's just changed, right? So instead of fight for profit, you're just going to see people buffing and bringing a whole bunch of smaller shooters, or they're going to bring Calthea. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be the replacement.
Yeah,
Big surprise there.
Unfortunately, you're going to go back to like the Kixie Calthea style of things, which have always been there anyway. They never went away. But like there was a lot of like options to be like, I'm just going to take a company captain for 90 and then just up all my dice by 60,000 and you just lose. And I have no minimum on it. So you're not going to see that anymore, or you might not see it as much anymore. And if you see hunters and you see Wildercore push up, you're going to see cities push up as a result to kind of counter and play against us. This happening to KO is the most exciting thing to me because it lets everything rise up a little bit. It takes like, instead of somebody stepping on their neck, it's just someone pushing them down on the shoulders. Like you could get up a little bit now. Before you were just in face first in the mud, not okay, not having a good time. This opens up the game a lot, and I think overall with the points adjustments, you get to see a lot more push towards mid-range profiles. Even though Death could still do some silly things, which we'll get to later, but not. Who cares? And then, my big excitement thing too here. I'll just start off with one, and then we can just kind of work our way down.
So real quick though, Rob, before you
Oh.
dive into that, I want to dive in on that KO bit.
Yes,
real quick.
yes, yes.
I got more to say too. Yeah, we're not moving that fast, Rob. We gotta really enjoy this.
Oh yeah, no. That's completely fine. Please, fuck.
Big thing, because big thing I'm seeing a lot though
minutes, man.
is a lot of guys are all just talking. Oh, KO's dead.
Yeah, it's not.
KO is
Not at
nowhere
all.
near
Not
dead.
at all.
Yep.
Like they are still terrifying.
Yeah,
The way
they bully you.
that has just changed a little bit. I'm still waiting with the fight for profit change. I'm ready to see spear walls.
Yeah,
Because
dude.
there is some mad strategies you can play with these guys, and like buffing or nerfing 5 points on their Arcanaut base infantry. I mean, they're still one of the best chaff in the game. Like that hasn't changed. So anybody that's really down about KO, like maybe you're building KO and you're like, man, what am I going to do now? Like, you're fine. Like, you are perfectly fine. KO isn't going anywhere. They're just not the boogeyman that they were.
I always point out to people an injured master of 140 on a double is 4635. That is crazy nasty in melee. The only reason it wasn't being played is because you're just shooting people. So you're going to start seeing that efficient stuff go through. I mean, 55-point chaff is still cheap, right? Like, they have plenty to work with.
I'm excited to see where it goes, right? Because anything that you did in KO before that wasn't a couple of Aether Cannons and a bunch of bodies was wrong. It was just not. It was explicitly worse in most cases than just playing those things. And so what they've done is nerf them just enough to make you think about what you're doing now. I think we're going to start seeing him as a really good soup base. I think having those, for me, 55, I even before this came out, I was looking at the profile and I posted in Salty's Discord. I was like, someone explain to me how these would ever be less than 60 points, just based on stats. 8-inch, no min, like all this kind of stuff. 12 wounds. Sure, you got the 3-inch, move, but it's like, these are still just some of the easily the best chaff in the game. And 5 points for me didn't pull them out of being really at the top there. They can just still shoot anything anywhere, that's within 8 inches of them. So they don't really.
I love to like complain because I go like, all right, look at ghouls. They're 5 points more, 4 wounds less, no shooting attack. It's like, all right, I guess.
They can move 5 though. To saying what you're saying, before on the soup comment for them, I've been playing Polar in TTS test games. I've been testing my face off just like for the love of testing.
Shout out TTS League. If you want to come play with us, come play with us. By the time hopefully this will be coming out before the next league is officially closed to join. So I'll put a link to the leagues to sign up for them. Come play games with us. Come test out all the new toys. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled Rob chat.
Thanks, Mike. What a great time to say TTS League was great. Also, of course, some of the TOs are here in this room. Definitely have a great time in casual. Competitive's a big sweat fest. Bring your best rusty knife because it's going to be a brawl and a bloodbath. Listen, and
that's not. I want to caution people from only thinking it's that though. I bring stupid lists every month and do relatively well. You don't have to be there the sweatiest list. You can play fun stuff and competitive as well.
It is a
don't be scared away.
Really good time. Honestly, yeah, dude, everybody there's super nice. There's nobody that's going to be like, actually that was the wrong trajectory. There's none of that there. They're just people there having a good time. No, that's true. Just me yelling at you while I roll 6s, and then
I was told Grisella could still use the triple WOG for FAQ. So I mean,
Kyle has the page laminated with lick marks on it. He's like, it's right here.
It's in my magazine. Why would they print it if they didn't mean it?
Just like powdery substance residue on it. What is this?
Why is it sticky, Kyle?
Back. It's laminated. What is happening? No. Lick it
Put it in the dishwasher when you're done with it. Come on.
Sorry. The soup. The you drill in river blades, the pure flood seneschal with them, giving them access to WOG or the redone Swift as a win, like so giving
Mhm.
them like big movement. So now
Yep.
like Peter talking about spear walls, then all of a sudden the spear walls are moving 12. Like
Even
it's a
even
good
if it's
time.
not
But
just
like
the
that's
spears, like you can
right, it's
still just do that
anything.
with the pistols. You just give them
Send
that
some
extra
balloons.
move, right?
You
Like
could
yeah,
play
it's
balloons
just
now.
that's a really good piece in there for sure. The pure flood is just
I mean, like,
any slow warband loves having that. Any dwarf really.
but
Yeah.
outside the chaff, right? They're really common as an ally too. I don't
Mhm.
think they go away as an ally, right? They still got some
Mhm.
cheap beaters, and like I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but that code right, I really think is a really solid ally for 95 points, right? Like stats wise, it's nothing to write home about, but that double, I think you'll find, like as Rob was referencing to me in the magazine,
I'm
like
gonna call it the actually.
The anime protagonist,
like,
like,
this is
oh,
it's
actually.
just like a cool ability in the sense of like you could shut off their abilities or reactions for a turn, or you could be spicy and run like 5 models, activate 4 of them, and then the code rate goes last to be like, I hope you activated because you're not going to be able to use any of your abilities after this, right?
It's
Kind of
Uh,
gets like
it's
yeah.
interesting because I think what it's actually going to play as is very rarely is it actually going to turn off abilities. What you're going to do is change the tempo and change the pacing of the
Mhm.
round, right?
Sequencing really
Yeah,
swaps it.
you're forcing sequencing into it, so you're making their big stuff go first. Because at the end of the day, nobody is just going to go, fine, take it, I don't care. Well, I guess Kyle's used to it. He loves the giving out the bone, so they're just like, fine, I'll play with no abilities, I don't care. But I think realistically, you see this on the other side, and you go, oh, okay, I got to do my big stuff fast. So, or
We-
you know, play around it, and you can try to kill the code right round one, bank your wild dice, and just try to clean. You know, it's just chunky, 16 wounds, 4 toughness. It's killable though, right? And like you said, Kyle, you're probably playing in a low number warband, so. You know, but even if you're not doing it at the end, he still can control
Even
some tempo. Like he can go,
even
oh,
yeah.
you can't do what you want to do right now.
Even in a high number warband, to your point, you can't do it right now, right? Because
Mhm.
you can go like activate them, pop the ability, then your opponent's like, oh, can't charge my claw back. I gotta wait. Then he's
Mhm.
like, all right, well, I'm gonna do it again. And then you get
Yeah.
essentially 2 free actions out of it, and he's just
Mhm.
sitting there wasting actions that maybe he can't afford, right?
Mhm.
So I just think
It's
Right.
a
it's really,
tricky
really
piece
cool.
to get right, I think, but it's got some cool play, and I think it'd be fun to really mess around with it.
Mhm.
We were making lists for it, right? Like running 6-man, like 2 Croxagores, Slan Star
Mhm.
Lord, or whatever it's
Yep.
called, Star Master,
Mhm.
Star Lord.
Star. What
It's
is
called
it?
Star Wars.
Slan Star Wars Dune 7, and the code right being in there for like the 6th or 7th piece, being like, I'm just gonna go hyper fast and aggressive. And especially if they're playing like a 10-man list or 12-man list, and all of a sudden your 6th piece goes, and you're just like, okay, double. I'll see you next turn. I'll see you in round 2. Good luck with your shambling hordes. Good luck with your resurrection shenanigans. Good luck with your movement abilities. None of it's happening if you didn't
Mhm.
use it. So it's like saying, like, it's forcing them to play out of sequence and controlling a tempo. And 95 points for 16 wounds at 4 toughness is pretty okay. And
Yeah,
also,
that's really
guess what?
good.
You gain access to the one brand new fight for profit with it. So, I mean, that does exist for it.
I
So,
mean, it's legit though, right? Like if
yeah,
he's standing by stuff, you know, if you're like you said in that
why
list
not?
with Croxagores, give him an extra attack. It's still an attack buff for, you know, it's a triple and it's only 3 inches, but like it still gives an extra attack, and you get the most value putting it on the biggest things.
Right.
For me, it's like I love it in Flame Seekers. They're 3/5, 2/4, right? So 3 attacks plus 1
Scale
attack's
breaker.
huge, right?
Oh my
Like,
god.
yeah, it's the same price as a Scale Breaker. It fits
Ugh,
perfectly into the list. Gives you
that's so
fight for profit
horrible.
on a triple. It still does his ability. It's just perfect in
Yes, Kyle.
Flame
And
Seekers.
Yes.
he's a
Love it.
dwarf too, right? He fits in
And it's a dwarf.
thematically.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him a mohawk, and nobody will be able to tell the difference.
No.
Pete, did you play around with any list building ideas with that shit? Ah, damn it.
With the code
Ah,
right?
You know what I'm
Hammered
doing
on.
with mine, clearly, because my Water
Only
Seekers.
thing I was thinking the other day, because this kind of leads into another point too, is Stormcaster obviously in kind of a weird, awkward position with these point changes.
They won a tournament. I think it was in like Croatia over the weekend. I didn't actually look that closely. I apologize to whoever won it, wherever they were, but they
Shout out to
won.
our Eastern European friends wherever you're at.
But it did get me thinking though, like code right in Stormcast suddenly
Oh, yeah.
becomes kind of interesting because one, you tie that with another cheap hero ally to get an extra body in the mix, right? And then you have that ability to kind of try to create tempo in a way. So I was kind of messing around with that a little bit, but KO give me the hives, so I tend to stay away from those models. But that's just
Good on you. Good on you, lad.
Yeah.
I
Proud
honestly,
of you
It's
for
going
not
to be a
being
big
that
brain
way.
ability. It's going to be a big brain ability is what this is going to be.
Absolutely. That's
It
what's
is gonna be a
intriguing
big brain
about it. It's
ability.
such a unique piece.
Yeah.
It lets you really play and kind of challenge other mid-sized war bands too, especially like so with all the points changes and like when we were all brewing lists, everyone's like, why are we always at 7 or 8 models with all this? Like, what's going on? Like, why is this really tough right now? Like this being jammed in like a 7th like model, even an 8th, like being like, okay, go for it. Like, even if you get initiative next round, you're not taking the optimal play unless you make me go first. But then that's a waste for you because I'm going first when you should have been going first. Like, it's a really, really neat piece that's going to demand a lot of attention. He also has access to the ancestral fortitude. He can put his toughness up to 5. Like, there's a lot of cool things he can do for 95 points being the same as a scale breaker.
He's got that 8-inch range too, right? He just can shoot. Just doesn't need to do a whole lot else. Just boop, boop.
Yeah, he's
crits.
gonna stand there behind stuff and be annoying and force you to engage and interact with them against their wishes, which I think is super sick, dude. Because they're gonna spend 2-3 turns, maybe two turns, right?
I mean, unless you play another aggro warband, and then they're like, "That's fun."
That's
really don't care.
Yeah,
Like we said before, though, you still get to control tempo when he pops, right? Like if they have abilities, you're like, you can't use those abilities now, right? Until my next activation, you turn it off for a turn at least. So you might be able to gain an advantage from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still something, and I think it's just another tool. And I think it'd be foolhardy to think like the meta is going to be the same. Like we're going to have the same pieces. Like we know, listen, for anybody who's just tuning in, that's their first time. We know that Horns of Hesha was an S tier warband before Soul Blight and Caradon Overlords got nerfed. Now they're just S plus tier, and they're just going to only get better. But hey, if they're still running, 9, 10 models, and you're running a code right against them, or you're figuring out ways to kind of like really dictate how they play, this is kind of a cool piece to see how it changes that landscape of things. I have no interest in the guys to the left of it. The Grimhold Exile is kind of neat. And I really don't care about any of that.
The other guy was already in there. That was just they updated all of the chaff profiles. He's not new.
Yeah, he's not new, right?
The Exiles is weird to me because like you compare it to the Flameseeker Thane, it is exactly the same stats. With the exception, it's just 25 points more, and the triple is worse. It's like it doesn't make sense as a model. Like,
it's a fun triple though. He's one that like you're playing with a theme. The model's sick too. He's real pretty. Like he's definitely not the most competitively viable for sure, but he looks cool.
The only thing I want to say is like I wish they had, instead of saying 30 plus, wish they said 23 plus, showing the difference between like a normal unit and elite unit, right? Let's keep it simple, keep it consistent. I think you'd see play if it was above 23, because then all of a sudden like it's good against Vexmore and those guys. It's good against any Stormcast that's sitting at 28, but like there's like 3 models in the game that's like above 30 that you routinely see. So it's just not going to see play now because of that.
It's a cool model.
It's really only good against elites, not mid range, really, or like high end mid range, right? He doesn't have play against them.
Now, at least not Seekers, they have a double for a charge, or am I overthinking that?
Overthinking it. They have a double that adds +3. Oh, Flame Seekers or Fire Slayers?
Yeah, sorry, Fire Slayers.
Fire Slayers have +3. It's like Rune of Zeal or whatever it is.
It's
+3 to the first. Their first movement,
it's unrivaled velocity. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, right?
I mean,
less impressive on 3 movement.
Yeah, that's still an impressive factor, but
no, so they don't have the actual charge like IJ or Ogres, which is charge looking real good in this mid range meta though.
Go great.
Scroll down a little bit. Are we done clowning on Caradon Overlords? Because let's just take it and listen. It makes mortar, even though mortars are 145, it makes mortars still very attractive because they didn't rely on FFP. So now you could instead of taking like 2 or 3 cannons, you just take a mortar, buff the strength. Enric Ironhail is looking mad good right now. Mad Deece, bro. Just throwing.
It's got that yapper. Do. He's not stopping.
Like from a overall standpoint, like all of Underworlds looks really good right now. The only one that was nerfed was Velmorn and his boys, but even then, it's like
Kixie took
wasn't
one
that
too.
big of a nerf.
Yeah,
Kixie got nerfed by 10, and it's still a fantastic pick for 135. Like, oh no, my value pick at 135. Like, watch out.
The Velmorn nerf that really mattered was that they finally fixed what they goofed last time. Was the full res, which I was at the point where I was like, okay, they've goofed up so many times in White Dwarf, we should start playing it this way. Like, clearly that was the intent.
As I like to joke, it's actually a buff because with the Pyregeists, they're now elite, so their toughness goes up on doubles now from Balefire Guard. So
that's gonna
funny,
the deployment of 3 models that you got all going up to
T5. I know.
You know something is good that even when it's nerfed, it's a buff. Like, it's
that's
name
what
of
I felt like
name of the
KO.
game here.
Like they're nerfed, but like they're fine.
They'll be okay.
Yeah.
We want to talk about some lizards, Pete. You want to lead us off with some cold-blooded chatter?
So exciting!
That tongue spray right there. I just gave you guys.
But I've been saying for months, like, I want to build Seraphon, but I refuse to until they gave new model options. And
Right.
And they listened. They heard you, Pete. They said Peter Mercencavage, anything to get him off gets.
Right.
They're like, the Santa Claus is checking. He's like, you're on the good list, Peter Mercencavage. You're on the good list.
Right. But yeah, I'm trying very hard to just be patient because I've already spent my hobby budget for the month here. But
sorry, Pete, I sent it at the cheapest shipping I could.
I appreciate you, Mike. I appreciate you. I needed them Spire Tyrants. I really did. But yeah, so at some point this year, you will see me with some Seraphon because I'm
It's
excited.
the correct noise to make. That's when you see these, you should be going, oh.
I'm kind of actually low-key excited to watch you play them because you played like that triple or quad threat list or the 3.5 threat list with like gets to great effective. And I think these have so much play. They're tricky with the points for sure.
Yes,
so I think we've been finding ourselves in like 6, 7, 8 size man warbands and like the Croxagors.
Ooh, baby.
The model. The model, man. You were essentially going to say Croxagors are 230. You're blessing them. You're never taking them at look at them. Look at Jurassic Pork. Oh,
beautiful. All right, sorry.
No, it's all good. So like you're essentially saying it's 230. You're giving an in-house breacher from Iron Golems to Seraphon now, right? With Tearing Bite.
Better stats.
Better stats, right?
At least range-wise, right?
Right. The 2-inch reach.
Tearing Bite.
Tearing Bite, or if you're in between two things, you could just jack up your dice crazy for a swing. They are some of the coolest models around town. 2, they're great, dude. You could tell they were pushed. And Peter, if you don't play a Crocscore, we're not going to be friends. And then Santa's putting you on the naughty list. And then you have the Crocscore Warspawned, which is also another viable.
Warband would be dope.
The whole Warband of Crocscore spawns in one skink.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, your skink takes D6 damage on the terrain, and then you just hide it, and then everybody else just uses double. No, it's for 205. You don't need to bless it like you do at the Crocs, and it's such a good.
I still
you could.
To be honest, going 4, 5, 3, 6, you're getting through chaff on one attack most of the time with that 3/6 profile, which is usually what you're worried about. Is I mean, I like both of these profiles, to be honest. I think they both have a lot of play.
Unless your name's Kyle and you use the Ossifector ability last night and you miss, what was it, Kyle? 5 out of 6 dice on a 3-up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
That's terrible. Now, something I'm going to say.
You probably didn't pick Ziggy. Probably haven't paid Ziggy in a while. You got to pay the guy to get the good dice.
But like the Croxagore, like as you're saying, like should we buff it or not? Even at the 205, I wouldn't even bother because like you use a doubled, but at 4, 5, 3, 6, if you, as Rob mentioned, the skink is damaged, right? Like you almost can scroll down to their abilities, right? Obviously, the Croxagore at 230 is better because it gets brutal blows, where you just is it brutal blows?
Yeah, it's brutal blows.
Yeah. That's what you get.
So basically, if you're engaged, you just get like +3 attacks. It's the same as Storm of Blows from the Deepkin, the Achelian King, just having half a double for additional attacks is just nuts, right? Because you're already at 3 attacks, you move in, pop a double 6, then you're swinging 6 like you double swing anyway. Great. Spawn of Sotek technically is probably better because it adds 2 to the attack characteristics no matter the dice value. But the requirement of that damage minion is so heavy.
It's
so
also not just for the next action, right? The brutal blows is only for the next attack action, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
the
spawn
is
is
which is why it's better.
The spawn
Yeah.
is for both, right? And spawn,
but
they could just be
set up.
they could just be engaged. Like
Mhm.
they don't have to have damage either. So like they could like run up to an activated model and just be there, and then your boy can just run in. But we cut Peter off, and I want to hear Peter because Peter was brewing a lot with the Agrodon Lancers, and I kind of want to hear Peter's take on them because one, they are it's lizard men riding raptors. So
Well, one thing I'm going to say though too before we leave the Croxagores is one thing and you're going to see this as a theme because Slaves of Dark kind of the same thing with how the points work. I love that there's not a leader option for the Croxagores.
yeah,
I like,
that's a good
and
point, Pete.
even they said in the Metawatch too, and I think you're going to see more of this. Is they're going to give you Titan options within faction, and you're going to see more. There's an emphasis to stay in that faction to play with the toys instead of pulling it out and sticking it where you want. Which I'm fine with both, but I think it was a really interesting move. Yeah, I think it was an interesting move to keep it in Seraphon. I really do.
I agree.
But yeah,
and it also makes sense from like a lore standpoint too, right? Because like Croxagores aren't smart; they do what they're told. So like from that side, I think it made a lot of sense as well. You go, hey, do this, and they go, I'll do this forever until you tell me to stop. All right, way to go, pal.
I mean, I think the Saurus is a good ally to bring in if you wanted to, but you don't get access to all this cool stuff. So.
Now, yeah, talking about the Agrodon, especially the alpha choices. If
the
we
big
go
boy
to that,
there he is.
It's going to be the top.
Well, I'll be honest with you. As much as I like the Scarvet, I actually like the Spear Agrodon Alpha more.
Love the
just
Spear.
Purely from a points perspective.
Yeah, it's good.
At 235, I don't know. Like I'm pretty big on that profile. That's especially once you first learn.
I'm curious how that ends up comparing. I actually haven't looked at it, but how does it compare to the old non-hero Saurus on Cold Ones? Because I think that one's like one. It's not far off on points. It doesn't get predatory leap, which is really nice for these cavalry units to be able to jump. Really cool way of solving that.
The Scar Veteran on a Cold One.
No, maybe no. It's like the old profiles, not the new ones, but like just the ones that are probably going away.
Hero or not hero?
The old cavalry guy.
Yeah, it's
hero or non-hero.
It's 215, but you get 7 move instead. 5 toughness.
That's the leader.
Yeah,
that's the leader one. I'm thinking about the non-leader.
Oh, the knights or whatever they are.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Right, the old knight profiles. They were 160 and 165 respectively. The War Spear was actually the more expensive one because of the 2 reach.
Yeah,
they were 6 move, 4 toughness.
The attack on this? Okay.
The attack is 4/4/2/4, so they lose a crit, and the move was.
They get an extra attack though. I mean, like it's just if you're looking for that's what's interesting, Pete. Right? Like, like I love this profile, but I don't. While we still have that other one, I'm just really curious as to how you. I mean, you got more move, but like it's the as a tearing bite base. If that's what you want to do with it, like this guy's got 3 versus the other guy's got 4 and stuff like that. It's an interesting decision to make between them.
I think
here's an interesting thing to think about too, though, is Agrodon Lancer, like the non-leader version, right? Think about that for a second. Bless him with an extra attack. Go up to 205, and then you're 4/4/2/5. I mean, as far as a base with a 2-inch range, right? So you can get yourself in there without fully committing. I mean, Tear and Bite is still an absolute option, and at a base of 205, I mean that's most bespoke leader points.
Yeah,
for something that has a 10-inch threat range.
Yeah,
and I mean,
but doesn't
think about that.
Does the Lancer here also get access to the triple that allows them to ignore like vertical distance or whatever it is? Right?
Yeah, the jump, the predatory leap.
I think it was just the mount rune mark that gave him that. Let's just
It's just a mount.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, so you gotta
it's
have warrior
mount
and
and
mount.
warrior, right? So
Yeah.
anything at the mount warrior gets it. But
Yep,
yeah, it
all
gives
these
them
guys get it.
3 free inches of movement, and it lets it act as if they're flying. So
Mhm.
you can clear some stuff for being a mount, which is
And-
pretty cool.
And
But
you charge damage on it as well. You
It's
do
half the value. It's not full. It's like 2.
Oh, okay, it's only half.
It's two lesser abilities put together, but like
Mhm.
it makes a great utility. It's something you're definitely not going to prioritize over anything else. But like
It's a great flex, right? It's a great to have
right, like
situation
if you need to
available.
get there, like, oh, I need to get to
Yep.
this point and I got to jump it instead of run around and then
Mhm.
like go,
Yeah.
like I could just spend the triple move and then I'm fighting something and I dealt 3 damage off the rip. Like,
Mhm.
not bad. It's not a bad thing to do. Like, yeah, you're not tearing bite at
Well-
that point, but like you have to be in that situation to
yeah.
not use it.
Something to think about too, though, is suddenly you have an ability that you actually think about before just going tearing bite, because
Mhm.
the ability, depending on where you place that model, say it's the spear again, right? That's a 5-inch threat on a triple that you are now going to get to attack twice.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of what
I-
his whole FAQ was too, though, basically stating that they see the direction of the game of having more impactful triples and
Mhm.
less more impactful doubles, because it's triples are just rare enough that like 1 or 2 a turn is good versus a guaranteed 1 or 2 a turn for doubles, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of playing room, and one thing you're going to see with Seraphon a lot is it's going to be really hard to make a high count warband with them
Yeah.
because you want to play with all the toys, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of
It
toys
is,
to play
yeah.
with.
It's the worst. The worst part is the 1,000-point limit and so many great models that are all really expensive to have to bring. It's like, who do I leave behind? Play them
Right.
in narrative. They got a great reaction that you get for free and stuff.
There's a lot of stuff in there that I really like about them, and I think if they're pushing us into a mid-range playground, having an Aggrodon Lancer to be like, I'm gonna go and handle this Flame Hurler real quick. Okay, guys, I'm gonna move 8. I have a 10-inch threat. This guy already moved up. I'm just gonna fucking damn, dude. I'm just gonna go pick this off. All right, we're done. I tried. Like I missed that like 15 minutes, then 26 minutes. I'm spaced out.
We're still PG-13, I think, right? I think it's only one F-bomb. The other one was
Get
regular.
in there, Rob.
I'm learning.
The-
I'm growing.
We should still talk about the Scarvet though, because the Scarvet is no
Mhm.
joke. And I
Listen.
mean, is it really a comparison saying like, well, Order's got their own kind of Vanguard? Maybe not quite, but the simple fact is like Order got a killer piece
Mhm.
Listen,
to stick wherever they want now with that Scarvet.
listen. It's
'cause
Like
Scarvet.
damage,
It's
like run in,
Scarvet.
blow something up.
Right. You're gonna bless it for strength, so it's 4, 6, 3, 5. So it's the best tearing bite platform in the game. Right. It's at it's basically you're at that, it's like 215 right now, right? And that's a Killian King territory. And you're like, well,
Mhm.
Rob, Killian King can fly and he's got Storm of Blows. All right, that's really cool, right? I'm almost worried about that. We just have a quester push this to go 8, and then it's only got 1 inch, and then tearing bite on this thing with 6, it's like 6 strength. Like you're pretty much comboing a 2-piece combo that could be allied into. I would say, Pete, it's roughly like it's not a Vanguard in terms of like, oh, I have a triple to rampage if I kill something, or I have like the Storm of Blows from the Achillean King. But I think as a like hyper, it's 30 wounds, 4 toughness. It's got the it could do the predatory jump if it has to. Tearing bite can make it turn into a 9/11 profile, right, on a 6, and that's devastating. This thing's gonna be knocking stuff down, dude. That's
Mhm.
and hitting on 3s at
Yeah.
4s the worst. Like you're able to go and lift pieces that you need to when you need to, and it's got
mean,
the speed for that.
the trade-off's just not that different, right? Because it's 1 less inch, as you said, right? So you don't have the 2-inch range, but the King is a 2.6 profile versus 3.5.
2.5. He's
Mhm.
2.5.
I'd much rather have 3.5 over 2.5, hands down.
100%.
And the Hegelian King also strength-wise is only S5 versus S6, an extra bit of damage and an extra bit of strength. Depending what the format ends up being, if we start seeing a lot more mid-range and elite lists, you're probably going to want the extra damage and the extra strength over having that ranged and fly.
Mhm.
Like, I think this is going to be a much better brawler than the Hegelian King ever will be.
Yeah, it doesn't require the double to do lifting.
Right.
where the king wants to see the double. This is more of an independent player, and I think that's a good point. You lose the
When
rune mark.
its ability to spike is so much higher too,
So
right?
much
Yeah,
higher,
you're
right?
only getting Tearing Bite on one attack action, but like the king is just hoping from volume of dice to be able to get through things. This is not. It goes like, I'm gonna roll 4 dice and I need an okay roll, and you are going to die essentially.
Right.
Right?
I just foresee
If we
this
do
in a lot of
baseline
decks.
8-wound chaff, right? 3 hits kills it.
Mhm.
King,
Right.
3 hits doesn't kill it. So
Mhm.
it's way different profile from that perspective.
Mhm.
Right. I think it's just different strokes for different folks. King has like a little bit more utility. The fly rune mark's really strong.
Mhm.
The base
Fly's
is a
big.
little bit
Yeah.
different, right? Like it does have the 2-inch reach. It is 4.525 natively. If you take the
The king's on a
hell,
60, yeah, 60 mil.
is it like a mega? It's a mega boss, a dinner plate, pretty much. Like, right?
And I don't mind the knight. So the Agrodon on the Scarvet on Agrodon's on a 90 by 52, and I never mind those just because you have the
That's
narrowest point of it is basically on a 50, essentially.
Is that
Like
the
yes,
same
the
as is that the same as a Vargolf?
yeah, yep, same as Korgorath.
Oh, so
and
he's a
like,
big boy. He's a
yeah,
big boy.
when I play
He's a-
with Korgs and stuff like that, it's nice because like not only is it like having the oval shape, it lets you get through areas that some other bigger stuff can't, but also it lets you like hit the Tokyo drift and like, okay, guess what? I'm touching 2 things right now that I'm swinging into. It just gives you a
Right.
lot more threat range.
Double tap.
Yep, for sure. You can reach out and touch 2 things on it. I just, in general, I mean, Tearing Bite is such an incredible ability, and I hope that we see it more just because one, Seraphon look right on the table. But like, when I was building with him, I was like, I'm fine taking just a regular little, what is it, 80 point chaff or whatever, or like one of the Saurus. Just brings them in. Yeah, having a source of Tearing Bite in every single deployment with these guys is very doable. And like it's the utility you have in that is incredible because you can just spike wherever you need to spike. So yeah, just really excited to see where these guys.
The better comparison then is comparing to a Vargolf. Vargolf is exact same stats except for 5 more wounds for 300. It's pretty much the same model, but the Saurus, to your point, has better abilities than the Vargolf has.
Yeah. This
I don't know. Vargolf's got the reaching up and trying to get the cookies off the top shelf ability.
He's got his tickly fingers. Like,
the reason
Slenderman arms.
Yeah, this one's more aggressive, right? Vargolf just has baffling parlay to stay alive. This thing wants to get in there and kill something.
Yeah.
Vargolf
You're
wants
not using baffling parlay with the Vargolf most of the time, though. If that thing is defensively playing, you're in trouble. You're losing already. Who cares? Just live.
Well, you say that, but you pop that a couple times, then you do the disengage for D6 damage, and then you just sit there like, all right.
When you put Vexmorn down to 1 dice after it blessed itself, it's a pretty good parlay.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure.
It's really bumps them out. And I think another cool spot, like even though they didn't see anything in this, like just like a side note on this, like talking to Kyle and stuff, we see a lot of this mid-range, like let's brawl, let's fight, let's throw it down.
Dice, baby. That's what the game's built around.
Heck yeah, bro. But like Feck gets better because then it's like, oh, I'm going to make you have less dice. Oh, I'm going to control the way you use your dice. I'm going to control. So like it lets Feck play.
We're going to get into that stuff.
Really cool.
Let's wait till we get down to death.
Well, we're gonna limit that stuff.
Excuse me, you're butting into my 40-minute rant, okay?
I took time off work to rant.
Some of the other ones in here, real quick. Spawn of Chotek, great proxy for salamanders or raids or dons. This profile is kind of rough.
They're the same base.
It's bigger. This is on a 90 as well. I think I have one nearby. I'm pretty sure this is on a 90 by 52.
They're such a cool model. Why did they do them dirty like this?
I mean, because it's a cool model. You don't need it to be good if you want to buy it, right?
I guess Skinks give them free shots on doubles. I guess.
But I think as long as we still have the other 2 profiles, I think it's
but
really hard to
not removing the other profiles is something that's like its own like.
Whenever we see 3rd edition, and it was interesting they didn't, just because they did it with Cities of Sigmar, right? Like they squeezed out a whole bunch of profiles. I'm trying to think, they didn't do it for Feck, right? There's nothing. I mean, that line wasn't big enough to remove anything from. They had so few models to begin with, but I think I think whenever we get like the next, like again, realistically, if we're on the same track we usually are of every 3 years, I think they'll go away. They weren't in They weren't in the new book. I don't think the new Seraphon Battle Tome. So I don't think so. I don't remember though.
But they did it to like COS, like, and that's the only thing. Like, my only bugaboo about this game is like the inconsistency of what they do for it. Like, we have, I'm not complaining. We're entering a renaissance of this game.
I think we're getting to a place.
Where, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My apologies. Cities of Sigmar, right? Cities of Sigmar went away. They had like the free cities. They had everything all combined. And thank you, love. They had everything all combined, and they had everything together, and you just picked like a city, and you had dwarves, and you had all that. They redid that. They redid the structure, and then they like moved all those out. They sunsetted them as they sunsetted them in AOS, and then they brought them in. If they're not in the battle tome, that's interesting, because I'm up to privy with AOS. So
the old cavalry units are not in the battle tome. I know that for sure. I just can't remember if the Razor Dawn and Salamander.
I think we can speculate all day on what's going to disappear with the new version of Age of Sigmar, but honestly, let's just wait. There's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do about it.
Stuff that we do have, the Raptidons are kind of fun. They're interesting. I think they're a fascinating utility piece. They're cool. They synergize with the Warsporn Croxagore because they have the minion rune mark, but they've got a double that gives them either a free move or a free attack or a +1 attack. What was it? Hold on, I gotta look at it now. And it's like depending on the profile that you choose for them. Tactics, if I've got the ranged one, they make a bonus move action equal to the ability. Otherwise, add 2 to the characteristic of the attacks on it. So they're not really looking to kill, but it might, adding 2 to this guy, you go to 6-3, 1-3, you're probably blowing through a lot of chaff, realistically. And then this guy, there's just a really fun, be able to shuffle him around the board, bonus, up to 6-inch move, can just be really powerful. We know free moves are always really good. So, yeah, I haven't really done honestly a lot of comparison between the leader. He's so like similar, like the two big guys versus like the smaller ones. Like they're just, very, very granular in like what you're getting out of them. So, I think they're, I mean, I have the models. The models are great, which is, again, the worst part is like I just want to play them whether they're good or not. I want to chuck them into a warband. So,
all right, dinosaurs are cool. Do we have anything else for them?
Yeah, right.
We're done.
Pass. We're done.
They're now extinct.
Play your dinosaurs. They have some dope abilities. All right, listen, I'm going to be real. I couldn't be less excited for like what they did to S2D. I could care less about the Harbinger of Decay.
Okay,
I could care. So hold on one second.
They made
Lord of
some cool
Hubris
changes.
is worthwhile, right?
No,
of Hubris
on the previous page, there's 2 cool changes, though, I think. Cypher Lords got a little buff, and Corvus Caval got a buff.
Stop. They got a cool buff to the shelf.
Corvus got a big buff. The 2 buffs, the 40 points they took off the model was wild.
But also changing Death from Above to match the new terrain was huge for the warband. For the 2-inch vertically lower, like huge difference. So I'm a fan of those models in particular. I just think they look really cool. So I just like this FAQ for all the changes they made to those past warbands to make them a little bit more playable. None of them got broke. I'm not going to be bringing K-Knights tomorrow to a tournament and just destroying people. I wish I could, but it's not going to happen, right? But they did make them like I could bring them end the day too, and I have a good time with them, right?
Don't let your memes be dreams, Kyle.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Cypher Lords are still in somewhat of a rough spot, in my opinion, even with the changes they made.
The stupid trick where they can teleport a monster now, which is just fun. It's worth
funny.
playing them just for that, strictly just to teleport a monster all over the board.
If you teleport a monster, you're getting, like, it's okay if your opponent strikes you from the other side of the table. That's completely allowed.
Just if you play that list, you have to get out your Cypher Lords one at a time, slowly get them out, and then pull the monster out at the end.
So for those who's listening, if you scroll down a little bit on here, they changed the Cypher Lord's ability to say you can use Shadow Recall on a friendly minion, no matter which faction. So you're like, oh my gosh, this opens up so many opportunities. Turns out it doesn't. The only other minions that you could bring in is like 3 Skaven minions, which are like whatever. Then for some reason, the Skaven, what was it, the Rat Beast? What's it called?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. The Abomination.
Yeah, the Rat Abomination.
This is not a
monster.
Skaven talk show. Okay.
Yeah, Rat Abomination Monster, which is a minion root mark.
You can also pull in, I think, Brimstone Horrors now. You can teleport Brims if you need to.
You can teleport Brims, yeah.
Put fire wherever you need it.
Clearly,
so-
supporting the monster was not intentional.
Oh my.
But, all right, I'm done. That was it.
Lord of Hubris is a pretty
What?
cool piece because it's exploring a design space.
No.
I'm sorry, what, Peter?
Go-
You're gonna talk
Go
about
back.
the quad?
Go back.
Tall dumbbell?
I'm gonna say one thing. Harbinger of Decay. Don't forget that there's 2 profiles. It's not just the Doom Bell. You still have the old Harbinger of Decay. So if you looked at this like I did and got super disappointed, it's okay. There's still a mediocre profile that you can play it as.
And
Because
now
I'm
there's
absolutely going to play
There's
this
sick
model.
model.
There's a
though. It's
mediocre
sick
profile with a
model.
way better model.
That
Yeah.
quad
Right
is
now, you've
actually
got a
sick,
reason to
though.
play that bad profile.
Kyle, don't even.
Really?
Don't even.
I'm tempted.
You could shut off an entire dispossessed team with that. You can be like, all right, I go first. Cool. You can't control objectives anymore. Like,
Yeah, if you go first with the quad. Otherwise, like they go first, like they're like
That's all it takes.
Hey,
That's all you got to do is
all
go
it
first
takes,
to the quad. That's what I do
fight
normally.
over-
it's
fight
got to
over
roll
my
6s.
body.
That's all you got to do.
Fight over
Not to
my
take
body,
away from you,
boys.
Rob. Let's go down to the
No, you're not taking
Lord
away
of
from me.
Hubris.
I was trying to help you out with the Lord of Hubris.
With the
I
Cypher Lords, the
appreciate
other buff they got with that ability too is it's the ranges are much less limiting as well, which is
Yeah.
it might be an interesting ally option if you feel like building around it exclusively for a mediocre list. But fun, a very fun list.
Lord
Peter,
of Hubie.
you've been sucking down the ice cubes. What's going on with this guy?
I'm so excited to mess around with him. Purely, you gotta, in my opinion, you gotta make him T5 because it's gonna just accentuate how his
That is not
ability works.
hubris. That's not hubris at all.
That's not
Pete.
hubris, Peter.
That's just
we
being
do see
cowardly.
Okay.
strength.
That's okay. That's
Up
okay.
and
But yeah,
down.
We're going
3-3.
4-4-3-3.
Yeah, 4-4-3-3, baby. It's excessive.
props to the fact that this is literally like the most thematic ability in the game now because it's delightful. You just got this guy thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, just going around finding all the weaklings on the battlefield, going like, "Yes, you. I'll fight you, not the big guy over there. I'll fight the weak guy." But you can hit me first. It's okay. Like,
It's such a
I
cool
think he's
design
gonna be
space, dude. It's so cool.
Yeah, he's going to be a mad chaff hunter, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see if it plays out. But as far as looking at it on paper, he looks a lot of fun. I'm
So-
very excited to test around with him.
I want to. There was some rules discussion on the Discord pertaining to this guy, and I kind of want to take time to call it out
For
because
sure.
I think it's something that's important. A lot of people were pairing them in Skaven with the bodyguard, right? So they would bodyguard, hide the bodyguard, and then they'd Lord of Hubris and do it, and then be like, but you can't attack me, but I get the bonuses. While I can see it being interpreted like that, like as if you're playing some sort of prison deck from Magic the Gathering.
To be fair,
But
I think it does read that way. I think
does.
the way that it's written, it does say it that way, but
It
I don't
does.
think the intent is that at all.
And I'm gonna only say, like, for anybody being like, but we don't know their intent. Well, this fact just did from between Psalm up, you can't escape me,
Slippery.
coward, whatever it is. There's a couple other ones. They're showing like there's precedent set now for what the intent is, and it's usually the less powerful ability or the less powerful option of the bunch. For you first, I insist. Oh, you can't attack me. I just get better for taunting you. Is not what I think the intention of it is. While it does read that way, I absolutely do understand some people can take it that way and like why it does read that way. But I think in order to get that activation off, they're gonna have to targeting this fighter, right? If they can't target the fighter, I don't think it goes through or completes it, in my opinion. I think that was the original intent. Because in AOS, he does the same thing. He says, you first, you can get the strike first clause against me, and then I get to womp. But they were also doing this thing where with like some sort of artifact or something and some sort of other spell that was in Slaanesh. I'm really doing a bad job selling it. They would disengage him out of combat. They would have to target and taunt him, but they couldn't get to him. So
Look,
they
this
were
isn't
doing...
an Age of Sigmar. I think people get it.
I'm just saying, like, I understand like some people like that play style of that, but I just don't think it's the intent of it here.
Yeah, any of the rules that we've had, right, that have had this crazy skew where it's like, I can do this crazy thing where I can basically get all of this crazy positive out of it if I read it this certain way. They've taken it all away. Reactions for me is the biggest one, right? I still don't think they worded it in a way that completely solves it, but again, the intent seems pretty much there, where it says, no, you have to do them only on your opponent's turn now. And so, there was this whole, really robust discussion and healthy discussion about, like, is it possible to react to you forcing your opponent to take an action? And now they've said, no, you can't do that. And every instance we have of it so far has been, either more restrictive or just saying whatever the BS that you're trying to get away with is. That's not what we're trying to do here. If you're trying to tweak the rules, again, with the face me cowards. I don't want to hear again. You're gonna get your laminated card out, Kyle.
I've been sharpening the blade for about 6 weeks now.
That's the only one I don't
damage profile is 3/394. So the next time I roll dice with this baby and I roll all ones, it's not going to matter anyway.
I do. That is the one ability that I'm completely okay with completely stacking every single time, because it feels thematic to me, right? It doesn't feel like you're getting away with it. It's like the blade is sharpened, right? It's getting sharper. I don't mind it getting nasty.
Carries between games, that's what I'm saying.
To sidetrack us.
Hand it down to your children.
I think it was last night, Kyle, we tested, and Kyle drops in with the wielder of the blade, does frightful touch, and I'm like, oh no, he's got 2 attacks on me, right? Like, he dropped in, he stopped, and then he engaged me, and then next turn he has initiative. He has the triple, and he's like, I'm gonna frightful or whatever, dreadful touch or whatever it is. The crit, all your hits are crits. And he's looking at the clawback with 22 life left. I'm like, here it is. This guy's dead. This is going to be 18 damage and then another 12. Kyle rolls 1-2-2, and and then completely misses on the 3-up, and then rolls again. And because I'm like, oh, if he just, he'll still kill me if he just rolls all hits. And then it was just one hit.
1, 2.
It was like 1-2-4.
Nice game, baby.
Oh my god!
Or the threes. I can't even do that.
It's happened to me before. The pain is real, dog. I know that. All right, go on. This guy was cool. I think
Rob,
people
your point is, just to reiterate it though, is 100% on point. Read it with the lower power level intent. Don't try to be cheesy. I know I joke about it all the time, but it is not fun for your opponent for those gotcha type of things. So.
Also, for the TTS League, we're not. Right? Sorry. Go ahead, Pete.
I'm just saying, casual play. This should be a talk you're having with your opponent. If it's a tournament, you should better be talking to a TO before you try pulling something like this, because it's just going to create a real feel bad situation for everybody involved, and you might result that you were hoping for.
Yeah.
For TTS, we're gonna play it that you have to be able to get the attack off. So for the competitive league and stuff like that, that's the way we're gonna roll it going forwards with it. So if you're playing and you're using it, just know that that's how we want you to use it in TTS League.
It is cool though. It does wreck chaff.
The profile in general is so easy to bring somewhere and just do cool stuff with. He's very affordable. It's still cheaper than a bespoke leader. Realistically, model, 155 for what he's doing. With the ability, he gets kind of wild. He needs to beat himself up. Is there a healing build that exists out there that might be fun to mess around with, where he's taking damage and you're kind of popping him back up? Don't know that it'll be good, but there's a lot of different options in this space that they've created with this ability that I think is a really fun place to explore. And 100% agree, Pete. This is one of the best abilities I've ever come up with. Have you put him in any funky list, Pete? Any good combos that you found that has a good home?
Yeah, he's in my June tournament list. So okay. Yeah, it's I'm excited. I'll just
I will tell you what he doesn't do well against, and it's a blood pelt hunter.
Yeah. I should think about my movement after a long work day before I move somebody into target range first round. Yeah, lessons learned there. But I am excited to play with them. The list I made, I'm just it's exciting because I'm a little down on destruction right now. I'm not saying it's not good. It still absolutely is. It's just my current build style and play style is feeling a bit rough after the FAQ, because that's
what a coincidence. Really that's the next section.
Is that we got a little more? We got
you could just claim. I am not
to talk about it.
I'm not excited.
Let's tear it down. We can do. we got the Therodons. Been excited about getting those for a while. I don't know that they're amazing or
They're
game
sick looking.
changing, but they're playable.
They're
I mean,
playable.
they're not incredible, but they certainly can exist. I think everything that they did you can play. There's nothing here is blowing you away, but a good player that really wants to play. I think to do them well, you kind of have to outplay your opponent, probably get a little bit of luck with dice and just be, a good player. But they seem very consistent to me. The 5 toughness means you're probably not getting hit a ton. 6 toughness on the Therodons and stuff. The damage profiles are very, again, consistent, and they've got high strength. So you're usually getting a pretty, it should be an easy to count kind of game, and easy to project out what the rest of the rounds and stuff are going to look like. So, I think I don't want to say that they're simple necessarily, but I think that they are relatively straightforward for tactically, if you want to just kind of get used to understanding the board state and doing what you need to do. I think these guys are a good way to do that, because you're not going to have to pivot from your strategy a ton. Just again, getting that consistency is really nice. But yeah, the Therodons obviously the biggest winners here. Stoked about having them.
They can get
something to think about too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Something to think about too is I want you to look at the point comparisons between the leaders and the non-leader options.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to this whole GW is encouraging you, take the Titan within your faction, right? Because Great Axe, bless him, extra attack. What's the difference? A leader rune mark. Look at the shield comparison. I mean, we're not even talking like a wounds difference. Like,
I was surprised by that. I thought there would be like 32 or something like that, but they guess.
Writing's on the wall for it. It's stay within your faction. If you want to start allying, we're taxing your allies with stuff, except for stuff like Lord of Hubris, which is this really cool switchblade utility piece that's like a chaff hunter. But like, you want these big boys, you're going to pay for them, or you're staying in house. I mean, even with the Therodon, and again, if you want to play Therodons, you're going to have to be pretty smart with it. They're sick. They play well with an Orgoroid Myrmidon, as you'll see Unleashed Savagery. Which is a cool once per battle ability, or battle like entirety, which is cool. And I really, 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 really enjoy all the stuff that they're bringing here. But 220 for that, 230 for a Croxagore is 3-6-4-8 with
one less
move, and the same tough wounds.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal, but like this is a smart design. This is a smart design. It can get whipped though, like I just said, from the Bloodstoker stonks going up.
I mean, I don't know.
No.
He's got more fun things to do. He can whip more things.
He can cause pain to more things. So you can put
all
in
I'm
with
saying
like
is you could bring in cheap chaff options like Vexmore for 180. And
do it.
You'll save points.
Right. He just
great choice.
walks up and throws 6 dice at it on an onslaught and kills it.
Talking about like that, keeping Titans in house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just stepping back from like the minutia real quick. Like, what I really enjoy is I know a lot of people really dislike. I've heard a lot of people say that they dislike the ally system. Personally, I really enjoy it. I think it is made for really diverse list building. You can really find these cool combos and stuff like that. What I really enjoy now is that they're giving you realistic options to play a good, a similar power level list without having to break your theme and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a really good way of almost like blending the two, where it's like, we're not getting rid of the ally system, but we're making sure that you don't have to do the ally system to feel competent anymore, which, both of those things I think are great for the game.
That's a win-win. It's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are sick looking though. They're so sick.
Yeah,
I'm
so
more
cool.
disappointed in the Chosen having 1-inch reach. Like, that's the only thing. Like, the Chosen are some of the coolest looking models in the game, and they have like these big weapons, and it's just like 1-inch reach. It's kind of like it's like the Mega Boss syndrome.
I'm kind of like, not better because I don't want to buy them and have to paint. I don't want to paint Slaves to Darkness trim. Right? It's
tough. It's a tough trim.
Yeah,
it's a tough trim.
So keep them not too exciting, and I'll be very happy.
We're running out of death time. We got to keep going. Come on.
Shut up, Kyle.
We
did it.
No, this is actually really cool.
Nobody's got anything to say about it?
No, this is a Brugit on a Spooky Boy, and that's it.
Let's move on.
This is quick. Like,
I think we've said everything we need to say.
They added the Ossifector of OBR. Super
That's a
simple,
factor
right?
of
Like,
OBR.
yeah, it's a Brugit on the stick for a leader.
Oh,
It's great. You nailed it, Rob. It's awesome. Only issue is, right, the more gas that you're bringing is 270 points. So you're talking about a 400 point something combo. So
I've
it's not
taken
broken.
more. It's okay.
It's not.
I've taken
It's not.
more.
Well,
It is
the
super strong though,
the
because
war gas
the
also is just gonna zip across the board, and then
Yeah.
you're just like, wait a second, I'm helping you.
yeah. So like I've played this a couple times. It is very strong. Turn one where you go, all right, +3 attacks. Then you get the free move on the more gas on a triple. You move 8, blow something up, and then to Mike's point, you're so far away from the Oss effector, you can do it once.
Is
And,
it
like,
worth exploring putting in a different deployment so that you can kind of have more utility, so it's not chasing it the whole time? You try to get a more centralized stuff like that, so it's got the potential to do it.
the 3 inches just it's hard to constantly
Yeah.
chase it around. There's no way around it.
For
It's
sure.
but it's still it's strong as an alpha strike. Some lists can't deal with that alpha strike, but don't expect to be spamming this every single turn. It's unlikely. And that's all I got to say. We're done with that.
It's another thing though. It's a good utility ally because it gives you that combo that you can get off with it. But defensively for 140 points, great.
It's not bad.
20 wounds, 4 toughness. Not move 3 in OBR, which is a great thing. And it's got a wizard attack. I loved it in Thricefold. Anything that is a utility ally or hero that you're bringing in that also has a ranged attack that can chew when it hits, I think is a really good combo to
It's a
have.
home run.
It's the exact same stats as a Bone Shaper, but 10 points cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With OBR, Kyle,
how'd you not bring it?
about the changes to them as well, because we kind of covered all of the points changes for like
Yeah.
AOS.
So this is like death in general got hit pretty hard. Basically points increases across the board. Every chaff option got hit across the board. So OBR, all their chaff 60 points. Doesn't matter what option you bring. You look at Soul Blight, zombies, skeletons. The minimum is 50 points for everything. Graveguard up
Which
went
is
up
still
to
the
70
cheapest in the
points.
game, but that's fine. We won't talk about that.
So cheap. It has one of the cheapest in the game at 40 points, but so does Ogres now with the cheapest stuff in the game. So really what I did, and they kind of explained it a little bit, is it knocks off 1 to 2 models off of every single list.
Yeah.
Which is actually really big because Death really relied on having action economy to kind of swarm folks, right? They don't have any really big beaters. They can't sit there and brawl. It's just kind of like a faction thing. Well, we can't brawl, but we don't need to because we can outgrind using resurrection options and toughness options. So a lot of people are saying like, oh, these Nurse Soul Blight's still on top. When they're taking 1 or 2 models less, it is a major nerf to the faction.
Who's taking 1 or 2 models less? Because you're still spamming all of the Underworld's models, and that didn't change.
Okay.
At all.
Yeah,
Underworld's models are still busted across the board.
That's how you play them now, right? Like that is.
But it's
if
every
you're gonna play a
faction,
high level,
right?
you have to play the Underworld.
Every faction's got bust Underworld still, right? It's so I think Salty talked about it. It's like the de facto best way to play the game. The Intel Zombies, way perfect points costed. You're still going to bring them. They're better than regular zombies. Move
The
forward.
ability's amazing.
Right. Sure, like you could talk about what is it? Velmorn's boys. Yeah, they got nerfed, but for 70 points compared to a Graveguard, they still have better abilities. So you'd still bring them anyway. So that doesn't change anything.
As allies too, like Velmorn is hard to get through. Is an annoying piece to try to kill if that's your allied in kind of res target. Like it's still always going to be a really nice thing to bring along.
If you just need bodies, the Barkroll Guard is good. You can't resurrect them. They don't have the minion remark. You could still bring vampires.
Yeah, that's important.
But you could still even like go into other factions. Like you can go to Grislas with FAQ. You can go into the other guy in FAQ. I forget his name. All cheap bodies, right? So right now it's just every faction in Death. Underworld is good, but it's the same for Chaos, right? Vexmore boys, really good. You look at Order, Kixie and Calthea. They're pretty much the strong things to be bringing in the game.
Hexbane too.
Hexbane, right? Go look at Destruction. You still got Rothcourt, right? Every single faction, Underworld's
Daggett,
the best. So that's why I didn't want to even bother talking about them because they're just the best, and no matter what faction you go to.
Kyle wanted to undersell it and then go win a tournament with his regular list that he always plays and go like, oh, I guess I'm just better.
To put into perspective, my list that I brought to Nova got 4th place
baby.
The only thing that's changed out of that list is the 3 Velmorn Boys models, and I
Mhm.
could just
Yeah.
replace them with cheaper zombies, and the list
Mhm.
Yeah.
essentially functions the same.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, like that's just the strength of Soulblight as a whole. Like it was more like the mechanical side of Rez's, which like in terms of like comp playing what we were seeing, but that's like such a hard restructuring fix that you'd have to do. So you have to be very careful. So I'm kind of glad they didn't touch it, because like the last thing you want to do is blow up a faction, right? You don't want to like say
Are
like,
you talking about
hey,
Red? Sorry, Rob?
yeah, I was
You
just
talking
saying
about
like,
Resident?
yeah,
Well,
like
I'm glad. Yeah.
I've mentioned like hey like I think something dies, you put a token down, it's a gravestone, that's where they get rezzed, right? Like you don't do any of this. I'm gonna fly 20 inches and then res this guy in the next board that the person over there is playing.
Yeah. You made a mistake killing my guy because now
Yeah.
I can
Oh,
tap an
cool.
objective
Now I
on
have
the other
2
side of
bodies
the
on a
board.
point, right? Like that's so bananas, bro. His bones are over there. You're not magically teleporting them, and you're not putting other bones in there. This isn't OBR. You're
No, he's-
resurrecting
Yeah.
Carrying out a
bones
stack
right.
of bones.
You're
Death is
just
just in general has just become like you're still grindy, but you're much more reliant on the res,
right.
and your damage has just been cut down quite a bit overall.
Yep.
So don't expect to be killing things left and right like the other factions, but you're still going to feel kind of grindy.
That
But
feels like Death's identity now, though, right? Like that's the same as like Flesh Eater courts, where
Yep.
they're grindy, right? They're control, they're grind, and it's not about cleaning you off the board at all. It's about we're gonna. And I, as much as I don't care for playing with or against the play style, I respect it, and I think it's a
Right.
really cool thing to exist. I'm gonna stand here and like I'm gonna barely outmuscle you on something and still find a way to win. I think that's a really cool place to exist in the game from a design perspective.
And again, with KO plummeting down, Horns keeps Soulblight in check,
Yeah.
but without KO repressing Feck, that can just get picked off with like 8-point wounds or RBF stuff, or Royal Beast Flayers and Flesh Eater Courts. Instead of getting picked off with them, because the ghouls are 8 wounds a pop, you have now more play to bringing those things. So therefore, more control styles and play styles open up rather than just shambling horde at you. And then like, oh, I resurrect in your face again. So you're just going to kill the same skeleton. And
basically, the big changes because
yeah,
the game's gotten more lethal is people are bringing zombies at 10 wounds instead of skeletons at 8 in the toughness.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Because I think someone has a video out there about that 9 wound mark being so critically important.
For sure,
Mhm.
for sure.
But honestly, the cool part about death changes, it comes from Night Haunt. Night Haunt actually got a
Ooh, yeah.
major buff. If you scroll down a little bit, the biggest one they got is, to me, their chaff went from like 95 points for this terrible.
They became part of the game. They got welcomed into Warcraft.
This terrible
Yeah.
model that was like 6 move, T3, like 8. It was terrible. They pushed it down to 70. It's in a much better spot now. You can actually bring a decent number of them.
It's nasty at 70.
It's actually really good. It
70?
flies 6, T4, 8 wounds, everything. Like, yeah, they're 1-2, but you're using them as position pieces. Like, good luck catching
Right.
that. Like, they can tie you up, they can disappear, they don't need to worry about it. And on top of that, they have everything. I'm sorry to overrule you there. They have frightful touchability, where everybody just gets to access to throwing crits. Like, and it's because like, I think Night Haunt was one of my original, like way back when I was looking to this game. I love the models. Some of the coolest models in the game. They don't play like necromancer zombie skeletons. Like they're spooky boys floating around haunting you, and like they're like tied to their crimes. So sick, dude. The paints are sick. I know you're doing like secret tech work on them. I don't want to reveal it if you don't, but they look sick. Mike painted not in a hotel lobby, so like he's got a
I
light.
know I did. I rented out a room just so I could get them done.
Oh, okay. But like
It's the only
cool.
place I can do it.
And I really hope some people take it and play with them and like place on a table, because they are playable now.
The one thing I want to note about them though is they have huge improvements, but that still fits the theme as we were talking about earlier about death.
Yep.
They're going to be great on objective missions like death always is. They're going to be really good at treasure missions like death usually is. They're still going to struggle to kill. Even with this frightful touch ability, their damage profiles honestly kind of stink across the board. It's a lot of 1/4s, like 2/4s,
It,
low
it helps though.
strength.
I mean,
But-
It helps.
it definitely brings them up. Like still
Yeah.
not consistently killing, but it makes a difference.
But this
The-
makes it so like they can take any of their models and
Mhm.
trade up a little bit, reminiscent of kind of like the Flame Seeker's double miss into a crit. It's just saying, yep, 3-ups. I'm always going to crit you. I could burn someone down. But at a triple, you're lucky to get one a turn, and it also competes with the Night Haunt Resurrection.
Right.
So it's not going to be something you're going to be spamming left, right every turn. And then of course, like we've been saying, the Underworld's versions of Night Haunt are objectively the best versions you could be bringing. If you're not bringing
like
Wielder of the
everything,
Blade,
right?
like you shouldn't be bringing that. Like it needs to be a Night Haunt. It's too strong.
Especially now with the Frightful Touch and that 6
Oh.
crit, right? Like it was
It's also-
already the one of the 2 options you were thinking about, and now it's like, okay, well, I definitely maybe I bring both, but I definitely
I
bring
mean,
this one now.
Riot Queen's good at T5, but
Mhm.
good critting for 6 is great, unless you're me, and then you just roll 1s and 2s. So
I mean, Knight of Shrouds is not too shabby now.
Yo, Knight
either.
of Shrouds on foot or steed, dude. Both are
Hey,
both are
you only got 3
stop
letters out
myself.
of it that time.
Yeah, dude, it was two. They're both really good pieces because then you could just they do stolen hours, right? So they just tank. They dropped in points, so you could bless toughness, and they just tank back up their health, which is really cool. It's a very awesome, weird drain tank anvil style of play, which I think is really cool.
it's cool, but like I just look at that 250 points and compare
Heck
it to
yeah.
a 230 point Croxiker. That's just gonna one shot the shit out of it.
I mean, it's hard though. Like I never like comparing across Grand Alliances just because
It's
like
tough,
they're
right?
meant to be different, right? And so like you should be paying more for like output and like that kind of stuff. And
Also, everything has
depth where you
fly.
are, and yeah,
you
it's
pay a lot.
It's big.
for fly.
honestly they
That's
kind of
fine. It's
they
big, dude.
kind of feel adjacent to like Hunters of Hawanchi to me now, like Death Hunters of Hawanchi, just because they can kind of zip all over the place with that, super mobile chaff that they're running now. So not as
Yeah.
not as consistent output, but can spike in the places that they need to.
I
A
really
big
want to
rule of
see a
thumb
good
is,
list of them.
if you don't want to learn terrain rules, you play Night Haunt. So
Yeah, dude, for sure. That's such a dude. Like,
Okay.
remember when we were playing and we were playing River Blades versus Pyregeists, and you just put your boys on bridges, and I was like, well, I can't knock you off, and you're just gonna blast me, and I just kind of lose this. Like, it's really good, dude. And I think there's a lot of play here for them.
Mhm.
Bonus points if you take Wielder of the Blade or Knight of Shrouds, and then you just take two Tong Fathers, and you're just good, and that's it. Like, and then just spam
There's
chaff
some
and you get the
game lists
9.
now. Yeah, you've got it's just a haunted house that you can bring
Yeah,
with
dude.
a couple of family members. It's progressive. You got 2 Tong Fathers and 2 Dad home. They've been dead for a while, so
That's
for
it.
those
I love it.
watching, Tong Fathers are the Pyregeist leader with the
Mhm.
tongs. It's
Yeah.
really good profile, and they have a really cool triple. It's just really tough to get it off.
Pete, what
Is
have you
it?
been building with these guys? Has it changed your list that you finally finished painting? Did you have to add more models to the paint log when you were working on it?
No, I refuse. At least right now. Like, if anything, I just got more room for blessings because I was running Wielder of the Blade, Briar Queen, and a Knight of Shrouds, non-mounted.
That's a
and
nice
then-
little trio. I like that.
Yeah,
wanna see
so
that.
it was doing. Yeah, it's only a 7 model list. Like with how things work now, I could drop the Bearer of the Block and my 2 what do you call the ratty looking spear ghosts there?
The glaive
You
boys.
always took instead of chain rasps.
Yeah, the glaive,
lose
the glaive, whatever.
Wave
Yeah,
rates?
glaive rate stalker.
Wraiths.
Right. You can because I'm running. Yeah,
Those are the guys
I'm
with the
running 2
horse-
of those, so
horse
I can
faces?
They
drop
have, like,
those
the weird
2 in the
horse
barrel.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, like the model.
Yeah, I
out
could
of
drop
everything
both of
for Night
those in the
Haunt.
Bearer of the Block and right now. Yeah, I'm just saying I could drop those 2 in the Bearer of the Block and still have the points to bring in 4 chain rafts, and then he still got the Sharpener of the Blade, so that brings you up to 8 with 3 really solid leaders. And
Sharpener
I
you
think
always
that
start
would
with
be
now. I think that's like an auto take chaff. Basically, at this
Yeah.
point, I think because it's like 5 points cheaper.
well. He's
No,
80.
it's-
He's
No,
80.
Bear of the Blade is
Oh,
80.
okay.
He used to be 5 points cheaper. Now he's just
That's
10
it.
points more.
Mhm.
But he
Okay.
sharpens the blade between games. So I mean, you're fine.
Mhm.
Honestly, the
Value.
model I want to see the most come out of Night Haunt is the Dread Scythe Harridan for 100 points to be 5
Yeah.
attacks It's
Hit
kind of
on.
wild.
It was getting allied a lot, right? I think I'd seen it in a handful of lists. Just the Nighthaunt res is so nice in death because it reses anything. Doesn't matter.
What's his
You were
crit
only
again?
getting
The
What's up?
Dreadscythe Theridin is 5313, but it's like kind of crazy for
Oh.
100 points. Move 6, then essentially end of your chaff units at 100 points can just drop 10 attacks, critting on 3-ups. Like it's gonna put a dent into
The,
whatever you want to put
Kyle,
a
I
dent
thought you
into.
were talking about the Dreadscythe or the
No,
Dreadblade Arrow.
the
I
chaff
was
one for
thinking of
100
the big
points.
flying horse instead of the tiny little flower ghosts. Very different.
The what's it called? The slasher crones, the leader versions of them are 150 for 15 wounds, but they're 5324. Bless up strength, dude.
Bless that crit.
Yeah, you could bless that crit too. That thing's gonna shred. All right, enough death. I'm bored.
That was it. I kept it short this time. That was good.
You
It helps
No,
you
you
only have
didn't.
like one
were-
page of
I'm-
updates.
yeah, dude. God, heaven forbid
there
this
any
thing was
other-
2 pages.
Were there any other points changes other than like the chaff for OBR that were really big that we didn't touch on?
Beck didn't get touched at all. Soul
No.
Blight chaff went up, but we talked about that.
Yeah.
OBR chaff went up. And
Asiarch Bone Reaper chaff. Yeah.
And then
The True Blade's got the
Ooh.
mongrel
don't even
became-
talk about it. Just don't even. It's such a sore spot still. Yeah.
It's still unplayable. No,
Nice
they're not
try,
unplayable.
They're
Mark.
getting-
Nice try.
Yeah,
They're
you
getting
get 10
closer to
points
being
off
out.
the wolf.
They're just like Claws of Karanak. They might show up on a board after a couple more points drops. We're getting close.
It's really tough because like they are some of the coolest aesthetic. Like if you told me, hey, do you want to play this game with me? I'm gonna play these guys that worship demon dogs, and then you're gonna play the samurai monk vampire aesthetics.
Bushido
I'd be like,
vampire.
They're edging all the time.
I
Oh,
would
we
be
can't have the
like-
blood. We've got to have regular blood.
I would be like, dude, this is the greatest game ever. And then you're like, but wait a minute, that dwarf that moves 3 with more wounds and an 8-inch shot that just murdered me for 55 points. Like it's really tough. I mean, it's cool to play in narrative and like casual. I have a hard time recommending
Like
it.
I can go into a huge rant about True Blades, but
Yeah, we're
like
done.
90 point chaff.
Look what you
too
did, Mike.
expensive. 90 point chaff's too expensive.
It's that whole box, right?
And-
Both them and
The
Claws
whole
of
box
Karanak.
is-
It's just
And why would
messed
you give
up.
a team where like the maximum number of attacks, your average profile is just 2 attacks, and be like, yeah, on a triple you can crit on 5-ups with my 2 attacks. Like,
literally. I did the
why
math on
would
that
you
one.
do
It's
that?
literally worse than Onslaught. You never use it.
It's literally
That's
worse.
to get it. Like, yeah, it's wild.
It makes
Alright,
no
Actually, I
sense.
heard
I'm
if
done,
you
I'm
use
done.
it, you just give the dice to your opponent. They just get your wild dice. That's it's a tax actually.
Pete, you wanna lead
Let's
us
go
off
down.
with,
Let's go down to my
the
home.
Giddies?
Peter's already
GSG.
tearing up. So
Oh my. I don't know,
Listen, Peter, you asked for this.
I did.
You know you asked for this for a whole year.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
So I'll start off with saying with the new Gits profiles, I'm super excited in a casual format for them. Such flavor.
Wow.
Gloom Spike got done dirty, so I'm a bit bitter, to be honest. there.
Actually, I'm ecstatic because your church
Yeah,
is
it worked out
progress
well
no
for
more.
you, Rob.
You
Yeah.
sit on on a throne of lies and deceit.
all right,
Because
you
Discord's
worship-
going to start
you
roasting
worship-
Rob alive in a bit
you-
after they start
you-
hearing about his
good,
negative reactions. to
Good.
Though,
Good.
I will
Good.
say
Come at me.
Gits
He's
gave
dead.
a
He's a dead
great
man. You love a
ally.
dead man.
Gits gave a great ally to the rest of Destruction, not so much in-house, but yeah, I think that's what Rob's excited about. But yeah, it's a little rough. I either got to change play style or just get really used to running 7 model lists.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's some I got to think about that. I'm stewing on that one, but
There's the unnecessary hit, and I think what's like really cool about when you look in Destruction is you see kind of like what did we use the term? Brugit was a fear mongering nerf. It was a big boogeyman for a lot of people, and people would just like grab their hair, pick up their dog and kids, and they're like, "But Brugit's
It
here."
makes people misplay. Like people play
Right,
wrong around
dude.
it.
People just fed into it, like,
Mhm.
and that's the power of giving
But
something
it's
3
still,
attacks,
honestly,
right?
It's still playable, right?
It's still
Like,
super playable.
I don't think it's as spammable and it's harder to get in list, but the it's like when they nerfed the Chimera, right? Like the Chimera does what it did before, it just doesn't have as many friends as it used to. But the Brugit still just says, "We're gonna go blow something up, boss. Let's go do it." And then he just goes, "Here you go."
The problem
That's
is
what we
they
missed in
pumped it up in
Chaos, by the way.
points. They pumped it up in
Plague
points,
Bears.
but like,
Yeah.
look,
Oh, you're right, Kyle. Yeah.
yeah, we did miss Plague Bears. They got
Mhm.
changed to 60, which fundamentally changes everything. But
I still think they have play. I know you're
They have
you're missing
play.
a
I
model or two, but like they're still really good models. What they're doing is still they think they have a lot less flexibility in
think
general
you
with
just
the way that
change
they're
your,
building.
you just
But
add Vexmore friends, and then you still save on points. But that's another thing.
So
So this
original, Rob.
the Brugit thing. Thanks, guy. I'm really trying. The Brugit change, right? You look at the Os effector, it's half the value of dice, right? Why not just do that to the Brugit? Why did you have to put 90 points into it, like,
the
or
thing with
20
the
more
Brugit
points on it?
though, the Brugit gets kind of weird because like you can end in a place where on a 1 or a 2, you can compile that and onslaught, and you can get +2 attacks from that. But realistically, most of the time, it's not doing anything if it's half the value. Which
Right.
makes it tough. I think a flat 2 is probably fine for it, honestly. But and
Make
honestly,
it once a
I think
game.
3
I
is
don't
fine.
care.
I think 3 is completely fine. It put like good things don't need to be nerfed all the way down. Like we can
Right,
have
for
good
sure.
things in the game, and I think the other things that happen in destruction on top of the points value changes, right? You're always still going to want to be blessing your Titans in destruction. So you've got 20 points that you're paying for a Brugit, and you're paying for whatever the increase, probably 10 points for one of your ogre buddies. I think it makes it so that you're doing less elsewhere. And sure, this package still functions the same way, but the list doesn't. And I think that's fine, right?
Yep.
You're having to make sacrifices in other places. It's an interesting change. You have to think about what's happening, which is part of the reason why we like points updates and changes, is because it creates a reason to look at the game differently. So even though it made Peter sad, I think Peter would look at it from a, overall, it's a good thing, even if it wasn't a directly good thing, right? Like it sucks for you specifically because that's what you love, but like overall, it really was a healthy change.
Well, I'm sorry, Peter.
No, I'll be very curious to see, because we're going into uncharted waters, especially in the competitive scene, because what that playing field's going to look like. Like we can say it's going to be a lot more killy, a lot more brawly, but like I'll be very curious to see what this shapes into.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to get a gut check and be like, no, this sucks now. But you don't really, you get that knee jerk, right? But I mean, for all you know, a 7 model list might just play just fine in the new meta.
Man, I've been taking 6 model lists for years. I'm not worried about anything.
Not everybody is Mike Sansom, Yes, but it'll be interesting. I'm very curious to see how this kind of unfolds, and that's what's most exciting about it. Like, it would be too much. Like, we got so much in this FAQ. And like, yeah, you can sit there and go like, yeah, but why not bring some of the crappier stuff up a little bit more? But like, that's overshooting, right? Like, that's not that those things aren't going to come, because if anything, they made it very clear that we're going in a very healthy direction.
Yeah. They did not bring the super like elf profiles specifically. I was excited because what they did was bring the top level of the game down. Overall, there's a couple like horns. Got a tiny bit of a nerf, but it didn't actually fundamentally change them, other than maybe some blessings. Soulblight's best version is still at the very top, and that's my biggest concern on like big picture stuff, is those 2 things are still very, very good, and I expect them to be at the top. KO probably took a half step backwards, but still very, very competitive, and still does really nasty things to those other 2 things at the top. But in general, I think the way that it's changed so much at the top end, that like how much does that actually bring the floor up and the ceiling down, right? How much closer are we, and how much more playable are these elf profiles with the other changes in what factions look like and stuff like that too now. So, I want to explore that before we actually see like, make them 60 points, right? There may be other changes that are better than just making them cheaper.
The elf problem, though, is more than just stats, right? Like we've talked, like other podcasts have talked about this, right? it's more than just stats. We know move is taxed heavily, which is part of the elf problem, but really the bigger problem with elves is counter,
Counter.
which is a whole thing on its own. And I don't know what the solution is, right? Do you change how counter works intrinsically? Do you make it more like shared pain? So that way it hits people that are actually targeting you, you're hitting back. But right now, if you have low strength, high number of attacks, which is
Just
the elf
gonna
profile,
kill
you
yourself
just kill
off, yeah.
yourself constantly,
Well,
right?
the
I
cool
mean,
thing
And
they did
big
with
problem.
Riverblades was they explored a new space for getting damage out, right? They
Like
made a
move and
reaction
ping
that does damage. They
and a
made a
reaction.
double
Yeah.
that does
Right.
damage, and you're not attacking. You're not rolling dice to do that, which again, this is why I'm excited to see, okay, what does it actually look like after these changes? Because they clearly have some intent with moving forwards in a really positive direction there.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a change in counter into next edition.
Not to get sidetracked on it, because I do completely agree with all that. I think one thing that Peter and I were looking forward towards Gits, because like after like going through the Gits catalog, like those models
You say I'm getting sidetracked, and you're bringing us back to the page that we're on talking about.
I said you were getting sidetracked.
for
I'm
sure.
talking about this.
Fair,
Thanks, police officer Michael. So anyway,
step back.
Spread those cheeks, raw.
Oh, I'm a veteran in the cavity check. You don't even know. You'd be echoing in there.
Call
Listen,
me Dr. Cop. It's time for a cavity search.
yeah, dude, you're gonna be howling in there like a bunch of wolves in a cavern. Listen, the like.
Ooh, speaking of wolves, look at
Speaking
this
of
new
wolves,
profile.
for sure,
Where's-
dude. There he is. I don't like the 175.1. I've been testing the Rider Get Boss in like IJ, KMK, Iron Jaws,
Cruel Boys, Monster
Cruel
Killers.
Boys, and Cruel Boy Monster Killers. Right? I got to work on that.
Alphabet Rob over here.
Yeah, I got to work on that acronym souping everything.
We should make a book, an ABC book for little kids. 3H1C, the acronym.
H1 lexicon, dude. You and I would have like 20,000 pages of like just misspelled words.
Acronym tier lists.
Acronym tier list.
Ooh, yeah, let's get into it.
Spicy.
So I've been putting him in all the destruction, right? And he offers this really unique piece that's not just, well, I'm gonna run a Titan, like, because they have amazing ally options, right? And honestly,
You can't add more Titans that are really that interesting at this point. They've got so much like granularity and cool
right
niches.
Let me explore this 4/8 play style some more.
Yeah.
Right. Let me explore this.
Does he move
piece.
an extra 3 inches on a double, or does he just move an extra 3 inches on a double? Which one is it?
Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second, please.
Pete, what else do you like here?
A loose
so I
kiddo.
know he's yelling, but I do have to say I've been playing against Rob using this, like the Get Boss or Snarl Rider. This brings a lot of utility to destruction that I hadn't really seen in the past, right? You have that 10-inch move, it flies across the board. It's got 2 abilities that are really strong. One of them is essentially you shoot, and then on a double, you get a free move. So, like, all right, you got double 6s, you get to shoot, you get to move, which is, the Can't Catch Us, which is really crazy.
Great name for the ability, too. Super fun.
It's essentially like a pseudo charge in a way, because you shoot from 6 inches away, you charge in, then you get that 3-5 attack profile, and then you're just smacking face. So being able to shoot, move, attack, or shoot, move, shoot, just creates something that this team didn't really have before. And then once it gets engaged, it's got a double if you're near a friend that increases its strength and attack by 1. So it's just kind of like this really fun utility piece. If you're playing something like Iron Jaws, you're really slow, you move 3. You have this 10-inch move piece that can kind of harass from a distance or be that chaff killer that you need to try to take up other longer range objectives. But not sure if anyone else has any input on it.
It's just like while you've got something else big mowing through the big things, this can just be running around the board picking stuff up, and it's got the action cheating with that double to be able to do that consistently. It's we haven't seen anything like that before either. Like make your ranged attack and then make your melee attack. Both are playable, both are interesting, and you can do them in the same turn, which it hasn't really existed, which is it's a really fun addition to the game.
Something to think about too is like anytime you have the ability to split damage. I mean, there's a reason I love Fellwater Troggoth so much. And if you're not playing with a less damage Fellwater Troggoth in this new meta, you're on.
Pete, it's gonna get nerfed.
They're terrible. But the ability to be like, hey, that chaff that's almost dead over there, boop, plink that off, and then charge into another one and get an attack off. It's sometimes, yeah, you're trying to emphasize, okay, one target, but the ability to go like, no, I'm going to hit 2 targets and get some extra damage out. It just creates a really nice maneuverability. And plus that speed, I mean, like you said, for a lot of these war bands, especially like Iron Jaws, right? It creates this really nice speed piece to get around and really mess with what's going on the board. Like, are you going to go pick a fight with a Titan? I hope not, because that was a bad decision, but that's not what this guy is for.
It's an interesting in Iron Jaws piece, Pete, too, because they do have mounted units, right, that have charge as well, right? But this is a different piece that does something different. So it's cool to see, okay, we've got all the Titan library that we can go, oh, which one do I feel like, oh, let's play with this one today. Let's do Mega Boss. Okay, cool. Now we can start doing that with Cavalry, which is a really interesting place to exist as well.
Well, it's what made the clawback so interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
When Gorge Mawpac came out, is just suddenly you had this pseudo speed piece that could still punch, but it just brought something different to destruction. And you're going to see that with the Get Boss. I know Rob's going to want to talk about this, but I guess I'll lead into it.
Before the Hunter, though, just to reiterate too, that Get Boss, when 1 inch of an ally changes to 4/6/2/4, it can hit up too in melee. It's not on here. It's like the
backstabbing mob.
Backstabbing, right?
Generic gets double. Yep.
Which like really just shows how much more utility this is. If you need to brawl, it can brawl. Sorry, and they're going to go into the Hunter. Which
before we move on, still to a different side note, there's been some chitter chatter, some conjecture online about it's weird that they have Michael File's pouch, which is I think I can't remember which model has it normally, but it was just it felt like a weird one for the Wolf Riders to have. I don't know the lore on them and stuff like that, but some of the resident other Gits experts and stuff like that on the Discord were saying it was probably a mistake. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, as of right now, I guess I haven't dug too far into it to know whether it should be, shouldn't be, all that kind of stuff. But for now, if it's in there, it's another cool utility.
That's what the new Squig boss guy has now.
Sorry, maybe that's there was I can't remember. There was something that was
goofy. You're thinking the spore thing that like toughness.
It's because he has he has the this rune mark, the scout rune mark. That's I knew it was a mushroom thing. I just couldn't remember what it was.
There's a lot of reaction going on and gets it's like a spore cloud ability where you create like a bubble of toughness, I believe.
You get cover. It's better than that. It's so it could increase toughness if needed in some cases.
So we'll see if that ends up getting touched or not. But with that, it's good. It's not necessarily game breaking, and you're probably not using that ability with this guy anyway, right? So hopefully it's not too impactful if it is incorrect or anything like that. But Rabble Rouse is a fun addition to the game if you like playing with monsters. He's got a very specific niche that he lives in. Great model. I'm very sad that he didn't.
What a lost opportunity if they just if that ability worked on just big Titans in general. Suddenly he would have been such an interesting, unique piece. But you're not using that ability.
This is what I was talking about earlier, the Grimhold Exile. They should just change it to hit that 23 wound mark from non-elite to elite and say 23 wounds it up and you could use this double. Suddenly that looks like a lot more fun piece to play and bring in just for that fun double to use.
Here's a fun chance to shout out writing to the FAQ email address. I'll chuck it in the show description and stuff like that too, because they listen to so much stuff that we sent them. And we got the changes, right? So, if this is the stuff that we feel like makes the better, if you're watching and you're like, hey, there's something that I think the game needs and would be good with, and, this is a change I think would be fun or, better, write to them. It's, it's a super easy email to write out, and, you don't really get a response. I've written to them a couple times in the past, and they just say like, we got it. And then you're like, all right, did something change? We can't tell you. But, hopefully he shows up in the next FAQ. But I agree, Pete, though. That would be a really cool Cool. And again, like you said before as well, Kyle, right? The precedent's kind of been set for that 22, 23 wound threshold. Let's make it make sense for the rest of the game. Let's continue that and really explore if that's, I don't know that it's necessarily, you know, we had to talk with Justin about potentially like a third threshold where we're going to have small, mid-range, and elite kind of definitions in wounds. You know, that might be something, you know, I'm not out here playtesting, exploring, writing the rules, but it's an interesting proposition. And I think it's something that's worth, before we start dumping all these abilities and stuff like that into it, would be good to really strictly define that, because for exactly this reason, right? This 130 point profile that essentially isn't going to see play very often at all right now, unless you're, at least from a competitive standpoint, definitely. I mean, if you like cool models,
play it for the love of the model, because it is an amazing model. But yeah.
I'm very sad. I still might do it. He's cheap enough. I have a bunch of Mologs mob, and he's got bat squigs on him, so I might play like a 5 model 4 bat squig list if somebody's nice enough to let me play archetype rules. Just have all them flying around.
It just comes down to try to being intuitive with the rules. Rob talked about it earlier. Stretching the rules the way they're worded just does make sense. Tone down the power, keep it simple. That was my whole point. But enough with those goblins. I know Pete was going to talk about splitting damage again on this sick new ogre model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Blood Pelt Hunter. I mean, Rob is all over this thing right now and is testing it in so many ways. It's
calls him Uncle Pelt. That's who's been dubbed.
Uncle Pelt. But I wasn't like I thought it looked good, but I wasn't overly convinced until I played against him with it, and I gotta say, like,
busted. It's busted, in my opinion.
It's a great piece. Oh my word! The ability triple Holloman 1 destruction has a pull now. Like, anybody that's going like, it's just another ogre. It is not another ogre. This ogre has a pull,
and it's a safe addition to the game because it's an expensive pull, both from a dice standpoint and a model standpoint. It's not like Brugit where we're chucking 70.
I have issues with this ability still, even with the pull. Okay, like this is not just a pull. This is a rampage on a triple because he has a ranged attack. This is my only concern with this piece, right? Hrothgorn, we've seen destroy people before. This is essentially Hrothgorn that doesn't need Quiv for a free shot. He moves faster. You can actually fight in melee. Unlike Hrothgorn, you cannot really fight that well in melee. And then every turn, you can just triple and be like, okay, I shoot, triple, haul him in, shoot again, and then melee you. Like, a 280 point piece doing that is crazy. But I know Rob is ready to jump on this blood pelt.
And that's why we don't like the Blood Pelt Hunter, why we think it's garbage, and that everybody in 3HPC thinks it's worthless. Oh, hey, Rob, what's up? You're back. Did you have something to say about this model? Otherwise, we're just going to move on and say it's bad. Don't play it.
It's booby. It's poopy. Don't play
it. Just in the fact too, like before I let Rob take it over, because he'll explain it way better than me, really. But just the fact that it's move 5 and its melee is 2-inch range. I want you to think about that, right? Because the ability to pull a guy and then be like, oh, I still have 2 melee attacks too. Does he have the 4-8 profile of Hrothgorn? No, but he doesn't need it with how he plays like this. But anyway, Rob, you take off launch and explain.
Yeah, man, it's something I've been alongside the Get Boss, just trying to explore different avenues other than Tyrant, Ardboy Boss, Mega Boss, like just the classics, right? Giving it a pull piece is something I've been very excited for in Destruction, and 2635 is still respectful, especially when like you're pulling on a triple and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna pull it 5 inches towards me, and then I get to hit it twice, or I can pull you off a point and then run onto a point and you've already activated and you're done. There's a lot of flexibility and uniqueness that gives it a different line of play that's not just Big Titan Smash that I think is really cool. Is it better than Big Titan Smash? Like, it is 280 points. We'll find out. Gutlord's only 10 more points than this, and that's 510. That thing's housing stuff. But I do believe it gives it a different avenue and direction of attack that people wouldn't be expected from. It gives stuff like Ironjaw's a range threat projection and a pull, so you don't have to use your doubles to charge as much if you're pulling in, or you can have another model engaged with another model, and then you can use your 2-inch to pull it off into you. so you can peel for that model to free it up. There's a lot of really cool things. It is a dice hungry, demands everything, but the 5-inch movement is excessive on it, and it's so good. It's just 30 wounds. They have
I
to
guess because
commit
it's naked,
to.
right? The model's got like no armor, so they're like, he can go fast. He's faster than your average ogre.
He's got a giant half carcass of a bear on him.
Yeah,
on the
he's
back.
just got his
And
He's on the hunt.
And a Croxagore head is the quiver. It's like, other than the weird Shrek face, it is one of the coolest models.
The kid really
first
does a
of
brand
all,
new face.
It's wearing a
face-
freaking blindfold, and it's still strength 6
No, he's
on
got-
the shots.
he's
I don't even
got-
get how
he's
that
got-
works.
He's got one eye. He's got
No
the
depth
sniper
perception.
eye.
How does he even know how far away you are?
That's his dominant eye, Kyle. I mean,
When your crossbow is the size of a sedan, you just fire it.
I do love that all of the new destruction models are just covering the eyes for some reason, right? The clawback just got some coverage going on. See some sunglasses on an Iron Jaws guy coming up soon, hopefully.
Right. It's
anything
a
else you wanna
wonderful
say about
model.
Uncle Pelt.
Uncle Pelt is just a wonderful model. He was a blast to paint. He is a very dynamic piece, which I'm testing and enjoying testing in a lot of different things. And no, him pulling into your Cruel Boys or Monster Killers does not trigger your reaction. So
Per this FAQ, right?
per
That
this
was
FAQ.
thank you.
It's an interesting side grade to the big guys that exist in destruction, just because it's no longer just run in and smash as hard as you possibly can. You've got utility. There's flexibility in it, which really has kind of become one of the most important things to be doing in the game. The flexibility to be able to pivot and move in different places at the higher end of the game really, really matters at the moment. And so the more fluidity you have in, where you put your damage and how you use your abilities and what the board looks like when you're done with it, I think is a really powerful thing at the moment. So definitely a really cool option to explore. I'm getting higher on it. Originally I was not super stoked on it, but it's definitely, the both profiles are good for the damage. So
it just creates finesse play, and I think that's what Rob and I get super excited about. Is like anytime in destruction, it's like everybody looks at destruction and goes like, I pick up stick and hit, but like there's a lot of finesse there that's just super enjoyable to play, and this just kind of adds to that repertoire.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Since it's here, the Squig Boss has a cool play style that it's kind of created as well. Not necessarily super powerful, but anything that's got pets around, all the stuff that flies. So like the jumping squigs, as well as all of like the squig on the ground. You can
Founders, hoppers, cave squigs. Yep.
You can make fun pet lists now, and this guy really facilitates that. So that's a really, really themed out and really fun.
Yeah.
It's cool model too. He's got a squig on a leash. I remember that album from back in the 90s. I think it was. By Korn, right? Squig on a leash, I think. But yeah, just a
reference plus 10 points.
And he's got a great mustache. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? But yeah, nothing that's probably going to completely change the game, but really
from
gives
a
you
casual standpoint, though, very fun. I mean, they brought some cool new tools, so
they did. I'm hoping something opens up and we see it. I think Peter and I were hoping for seeing some other stuff become a little bit more playable. Destruction just kind of got hit in a very negative way, and then got like a really great tool to compensate. But I mean, like, are you still going to take a Gutlord at 290? 1000%. Are you still going to take a Tyrant for like 10 more? If you do, sure, it's still a fantastic piece.
When it's the same as the Brugit, right? Like the points are more, but like you're still doing what you were doing before. You just have to figure out the rest of the list around it now. And the rest of the list is just going to be worse around it. But that combo is still, and those pieces individually are still wicked powerful and doing the exact same job they did before.
Does your kill potential have the ability to overwhelm your opponent's activation?
Exactly. Yeah. Can you clear the board faster than they can win the game? Essentially,
a blessed Gutlord still says yes.
Yeah. Right. With
right. It's exciting.
I love those models. I don't care what you.
It was Peter. I only make fun of the things I love. You know that.
I do know that. Yeah, that's true.
Any other? I mean, we can run through all of these.
I'm just not a huge fan of their choice for the Over My Dead Body. I get it; it's consistent. Being able to stack it, right? Be able to use the ability, wait, use it again. That's been consistent with every other ruling that's out there. If you want to stack auras, you want to stack whatever. From the guy who jokes about stacking, sharpening the blade, right? It's just my issue with it, and I think we're going to see a lot of dispossessed going forward, just because if it was only their leaders, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
That's
But it's
what it needs to be.
any of their chaff could
You
just
have
be like, guess what? I
so
count
much
as three.
Yep.
Any list
You
that
have
is
two of them
eight,
at different objectives, count as 3, and you've only run an 8-man list, right? It's so powerful to have anybody be able to put it
There's
there.
not a,
and
there's
even
not
if
a lot of
objectives
counterplay to it.
crisscross, there is no
right?
counterplay. You have to
There's
kill
no
it.
counterplay to it.
And if you
it's
kill it, they've got a combo off of you killing it with their reaction as well, right? So it's
a
just
lose-lose. Yeah.
yeah, which is cool. Explore that faction, right? Like I think that's definitely, it means that they're good, and I don't think they're an easy one to play, and their stats are very underwhelming when you look at it. You're like, these don't feel anywhere near the rest of the game. Where we're excited to be playing this stuff, but clearly
just
powerful.
With the KO nerf, I see dispossessed allies being more popular going forward. Just because you can take any list, you're running 6 models, you have 115 points to drop in a Rune Lord. Cool, your 7 model list now is acting like 9 as long as you have a double handy. It's just way, way strong for what it brings to the table.
Order taking its best, doing its best destruction impersonation with really, really getting soupy with just, let's take this and let's take this, put them in the pot, and have a really good list now.
Kind of makes sense though, right? Order is meant to kind of work together. So
you're all friends, right? Well, not all of them.
Not at all.
But most of them.
Looking at you, daughters of Cain.
I mean, they've literally made a battle box between dwarves, like between Fire Slayers and Idoneth.
Right.
So
those two, and then
as long as we're not giving out souls, I think we're cool.
Is there anything else in the FAQs?
Have fun. We're in a golden era to just explore and have a good time.
These are all the points. We're not going to go through all this.
Yeah. No. Here, let me get rid of this. So yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm very excited. Just the general state of the game, right? This FAQ was a long time coming, and it didn't hit everything that everybody was clamoring for, but it also did it in a very measured way. Like the things that it touched, some stuff, probably could have pushed a little bit further, but if we're going to get consistent updates like they said that we're going to, I'm totally fine playing with this structure for 6 months. Let's do it. Let's get after it. Let's explore it. Let's break it. Let's have the opportunity to play it, see what's good, see what's not good, and then make those changes. That's the most exciting thing for me that came of this, is that we came from a place a couple months ago where it's like, what's actually happening? This is concerning. The models are going away. What does that actually mean? 500 YouTubers, going like, well, turns out it's going to be more time, right? Enjoy. Look, I'm happy you got your revenue and your clicks, everybody that was saying and stuff like that. I get it, it's a job, but like for the people that just genuinely care about the game, that narrative and that rhetoric was just so harmful for, the community essentially. And it turns out not completely, seemed to be pretty unbased on anything. So, to have this really firm and, powerful step forward with, not only the support in a massive FAQ, but also to say, hey, this is what we're looking to do in the game going forwards. We don't have a roadmap. We don't need it. We're talking about bigger picture, right? This isn't here's 12 months of what the game's going to look like. This is when a new model comes out, we're going to get it in the game ASAP. Super, super exciting.
If you haven't watched that video of the designer talking about what the future is, highly recommend watching the Metawatch. Yeah. I don't say that a lot. It was just really,
it was
really on point.
He wasted no time.
Light some candles, close the door, pull the shade, put the picture frames down, and just enjoy yourself.
Put the silk kimono on, but keep it open. Listen, the fact that this dude came in, and I know he also works on Underworlds as well, but like came in just off the rip, he understood what chaff was, Titan was. He understood the terminology, he understood what we were playing, what we're doing, and then saying, don't worry, we're moving forward. We see the support, we see the growth in this game. Just could not make me happier as well. So I'm going to put it out there. I've been manifesting it every day. I learned that term. I'm manifesting my new Iron Jaws. Please give me my new profiles and my weird brute Rekkas and my Ardboy Big Boss. And you know what? Let's say the monster. Give me the big pig. Give me the pig monster truck.
Rob, we talked about it while you're gone. We'll put I'm going to put the FAQ in the show notes here for folks
I'm
to be
just
able
waiting
to
for those
email them.
Tyrannic cohorts to come out. I want to see the sweet OBR monster boys coming in, and
Oh,
the B
bees.
Sylvaneth. Oh,
Bees
so
and
excited for
bones.
that.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it. And
Tree
Dark Oath might,
bees.
who knows, by the time this comes out, and we might already have Dark Oath rules, see if they get their own faction. Gunner Brand hopefully is gonna, I was talking a little bit on Discord today. I was like, oh man, more of the oath stuff might be really cool. But yeah, just there's so much potential, and it's cool to know that they care and that, thanks, Dad. You do love us.
It's a good time to be in Warcry.
It is a good time.
It's
There's
all
so much
positive vibes, man.
experimentation, so much activity, so many list drops.
And what makes it even better is, I know we talked about it before, right? But is the more we talk about it, the bigger the game gets, the more stuff we get. So like, if there was only a way for videos like this, you could help share it and get it out into the community more. If there's like a button you could click or anything like that, maybe a couple of them, that would help. But
Like and subscribe? Is that it?
Yeah, that's, hey, try it. Let's see what happens. Click them. Click like, click subscribe, and see where we go with it.
Listen, I know you guys are cool with being Chef, but have you tried being a hero?
Yeah.
Click it and find out.
Yeah. Find out.
Share it. Share it with your friends.
I think we should leave them with that thought. What do you guys think?
It's been fun.
Play Blood Pelt Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then give me my Iron Jaws.
Go play the goodies. Enjoy.
Go play Warcry. Just play Warcry and play what you like. And
Sharpen the blade.
Sharpen the blade. Don't even play the game. Just sharpen the blade. Get in there. Make doubles. Sharpen the blade. Wait. Sharpen the blade. Wait. Make one attack. Make one attack the whole game. Use the triple and it's on both attacks too, by the way, not just one. And then you miss, and then you flip the table, and then you walk away, and then you have fun. Maximum Warcry experience.
It's my average game, so yeah.
It's Kyle's average game. Right. Yeah, it's about right. Have fun, guys. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed. Everybody stayed to the end. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Like I said, be here, don't be chaff. Click that like, subscribe, bell. Please leave some comments. Tell us what you're excited about. And this is Robert Viscomi, also known as your friendly local girth demon, signing out.
This is Peter Mercencavage, the Saint 16.
It's Mike Sansom, big fan of those Arm Wars. Seventh favorite Arm War enthusiast.
And Kyle Knapp, of course, the great White Note.
Oh, I missed. Hold on. Do it again.
There's
When you say the great, Peter and Rob got it perfect. You guys do it again.
And this is Kyle Knapp, the great White Note.
You guys have a good night.
Later, guys.
Have a good night.
Later,
boys.
everybody.
And
Bye.
ladies and everything.
Bye-bye.